Improvised gavel.
Thank you, Marianne. That was perfect. So it looks like both Finance Committee and Select Board have Laura. We have Chris and Melissa from Select Board on Zoom. We have Karen from Select Board in the room. Neither of you can probably see each other, so I'll say that out loud. Let's first call Finance Committee to order. So starting on Zoom, we have Ed.
Here.
Jeffrey.
Here.
Andre.
Here.
Joe McDonough.
Here.
Marianne.
Here.
And Joe Carnahan here. Chris, would you like to do the honors for Select Board?
Yep, thanks, Joe. I'll call the Select Board to order. I'll take attendance as well. Karen Rose Gillis.
Yes.
Melissa Murphy.
Yes.
Karen Herrick.
Not sure if the mic picked that up, but that was a yes in the room.
Oh, for Karen. And Carlo's not there, I don't think. I don't see him.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, so let us begin. Welcome, everyone. Nice crowd of town staff. Good to see you all. Thank you for coming in the evening when us volunteers can be here. So first order of business is public comment. I think we have at least one of those. You could please come forward and come to the podium, just so I think that way RCTV will see you.
I stand on tiptoe.
We don't have the in-room microphones, so we were okay last week without them.
Better without them.
Okay.
So I'll just repeating a technical detail from last week. We, not by choice, didn't have the in-room microphones last time. However, the consensus was that the audio quality for participants on Zoom and RCTV was better without them. So I'm just going to project my voice, and I'm going to ask others in the room to please do the same if you can, and I'll repeat things for the mic if I have to. Sound good? All right, please, name and street. And
hi, everybody. I'm Rosemary DiBenedetto. I live on Haystack Road in Reading, and I've been here since '77. I attend the Pleasant Street Center for different classes almost every day. I'm here tonight to congratulate the pickleball people who have raised a lot of money, and they're doing really well. I'm also here to ask for the $80,000 in ARPA funds that the Council on Aging had transferred to the pickleball group to help them out. I'd like it back to the COA group so that we can spend it at the Pleasant Street Center, which is in dire need of funds to run the programs there, pay for the instructors. The instructors are under a lot of pressure, and I think we're losing 2 of them already, going to other locations. I realize that we can't have monies handled there, but I think they also are being forced to get their own insurance policy. But you have to have some flexibility with the instructors who have been there for many years. Kelly, who teaches Zumba, has been there for over 20 years in the same room teaching, and she's going to leave. She's going to leave. I think we have to retain her. The woman who teaches Pom is going to leave too. Pom is pom-poms, and that's a great group. The group is actually going to the Celtics in April to perform. This will be our 3rd year performing their halftime. So we're losing some excellent teachers, but I want you to transfer that $80,000 back to the Council on Aging, and so that they can use it as needed, and definitely use it at the center. We have a great group of women who are running the center. They're knowledgeable, they're dedicated, they're hardworking, but they're scrimping for pennies. You're talking about pennies when it's a need for the 60-plus community that makes up a 1/3 of Reading citizens. So please do this for us. Thank you.
thank you. I see a hand in the room. Karen Herrick.
Karen Herrick, Select Board, and liaison to the Finance Committee, but I'm also the liaison to the Council on Aging. And I did want to make the Finance Committee aware that I believe we're having some budget issues with Elder Human Services from now through the end of this fiscal year that I've tried to start making people aware of. And whether it's by that mechanism or another, it's a pretty significant cliff, and it's symptomatic of what the budget issues we've been having all along. combined with Meriterra Cabin needing ADA upgrades and having been closed since last September and needing funds for that. And so anyway, just appreciate your attention, and especially in light of the staff's done a really hard job, I understand, of tightening budgets, but we're still having some shortfalls. Thanks.
Thank you. I believe I saw a Zoom hand from Ed. If you wanted to comment on something that was not on the agenda, so this is the right time.
Yep. Thanks, Joe. Greetings from London. Sorry for not being there in person. I wanted to just kind of make a brief statement, and after a week of reflection, and I can't believe it's only been a week, I wanted to kind of share my my regret in kind of going off topic during my liaison report last week, and kind of sharing my kind of feelings and displeasure and shock around the town manager negotiations. It wasn't the right time for it, and time or place for it, and I certainly meant no respect to the chair, to the vice chair, in those comments, and certainly to the interim town manager. My greatest concern is the kind of the welfare of the town. I kind of perfectly realize that the town is bigger than kind of one position or one person, but in this situation, kind of feel that it does have a kind of a cascading effect to staff, and we are super fortunate to have a staff that cares deeply about Reading, and kind of we know firsthand from accounts the positive response to mass leadership. So I wanted to extend my my gratitude to them, for their kind of thoughtfulness and dedication to their jobs, and kind of in light of the current situations, and how that it does really kind of positively impact Reading. I feel strongly that some transparency is needed from the select board. I hope the release of the executive session minutes will help. I also think we need some, and I expect we'll get some further understanding and some clarity on the process going forward for the next town manager. But and I'm committed to staying involved and paying attention. I hope more do the same. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Ed. Another public comment here in the room.
Rick Keough, 692 Pearl Street, member of the Conservation Board. Good evening, Chair and members of the Finance Committee. First, we want to acknowledge that we've heard clearly the fiscal year 27 budget is essentially set. We appreciate the work Jane, Sharon, and this committee have done already. You're hearing from us now because we moved quickly after positive feedback at the Select Board's February 24th meeting, where Meriterra and the need for a permanent conservation operating budget were discussed together. We took that as encouragement to bring forward a structured, transparent proposal for future years. Here's the context. Conservation and trails have been productive. We've done it through fragmented, non-recurring funding, whether that be grants, earmarks, ARPA, shared budgets, along with DPW and volunteer support. And it's not small dollars. We're operating annually at around $40,000 a year. Give you some examples. Fiscal year 2024, total $41,500. Fiscal year 2025, $46,300. Fiscal year 2026, $39,550. This supports trail signage and kiosks, boardwalk work, invasive management, Meriterra Cabin and the community garden, and the remainder of our 1,000 acres the town owns of land under our stewardship. The problem is that this patchwork interferes with planning and investing for the future. So we're proposing a simple recurring base, $20,000 for conservation and trails. $5,000 for conservation operations. $5,000 for trail priorities. And $10,000 for planned capital improvements and deferred maintenance. And it minimizes future reliance on the prior town administrator funding path. Importantly, this is largely a shift of existing funding into permanent operational line items. Less than $7,000 in net new funding. This also opens a constructive discussion about conservation-related fees currently flowing into the town's general fund. Because even a modest percentage of those fees dedicated back to stewardship could offset the net new portion of this conservation and trails line item. We're optimistic, and we want to work collaboratively with FinCom and town staff to shape a responsible, sustainable approach in future budget cycles. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan, good job.
Looking around, see another comment in the room. Brian.
Is this the motion?
Brian Bowe, Brewer Lane. Most of the chair of the Conservation Commission. I just wanted to touch on a few points that Rick brought up. What we're talking about is lumping together some funds that already happen, but happen in a haphazard way. That would allow us to do planning. Some of the things that we've been working on and need to continue working on have to be done consistently. For example, Rick mentioned invasive management. These things take years to identify, eradicate, and go back and work on again. And if we can't be sure that we're going to have money in a given stream, it makes it very hard to do the planning and the execution for that. Likewise, we're working hard on restoration at Bear Meadow. And my fan's calling me, excuse me. And yes, I said fan, that's one. So we're working hard on restoration of Bear Meadow. This is a place where we got a study done from Mass Audubon, and we are working towards executing against that plan. So first was to do a thinning of the trees in there, and now we have to replant with the species that we want. If it's not done in a timely fashion, then what happens? Invasives take over. So this is something where we have to have the money, to plan, to execute, to get the replanting, to continue what we've been doing. So that's what I wanted to emphasize, is putting money together into one recurrent stream to allow us to plan and then execute against the plan. Thank you.
Angela, please.
Angela Benda, Orchard Park Drive. I am asking that when the part of services for the senior center and programming for the senior center, when that comes up, that you pay close attention to it. I have heard that there is that the budget for programming at the senior center has run out, and that it might be underfunded for next year. I looked on I looked in the town manager's proposed budget, and I wasn't really able to tell what specifically goes to that. And so I haven't spoken to anyone, and I haven't verified that, but I have heard from people who have said that. And I think it's really important, that I know that ARPA money went towards programming at the senior center, but I think the ARPA money has run out, and I think that it's very important that, we have the town has committed to a senior center, a recal center. We're not built yet, it's not built yet, but it really is important that programming for the seniors be properly funded. They are a third of the population, and And so when you're looking through that portion of the budget, just maybe you can explain what's going on and ask questions, but it should be at least level, well, it probably should be more than level funded if they've already run out of money. But whatever it is, can we get some sort of guarantee that we won't, that for next year, the seniors won't run out of money for programming? Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck?
Good evening, everyone. Chuck Tironi, I'm the Conservation Administrator, and I just wanted to just add some context to what Brian and Rick had said. So what we're looking for is to combine some budgets. So we have an operating budget in public services of $2,000. Each year we go to the select board and we ask for some money to do some work around town, and that's about $6,500. And so what we're asking is if that $6,500, with the permission of the select board, could be permanently moved into the public services conservation item, line item, and to build that up. That would probably be somewhere around, when we're done, $11,500, because we're also combining what the Trails Committee usually gets each year, which is about $5,000. So I'm the liaison to the Trails Committee. I run their budget. I'm the liaison, the Conservation Administrator, and I take care of their budget. So when all that gets added up, we're about $6,500 away from our total ask of $20,000. So that's the details behind the total ask. So I just wanted everyone to know, and I know the select board's here, and I'm not sure if they agree that going to the select board and asking for money each year along with other groups in town is the best way to do that. And that would help us understand that we're going to get the money. We could do some planning, and we would have at least a little bit of money to plan for next year and future years if that could happen. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking for other public comments. I don't see any hands on Zoom. Oh, I see Chris on Zoom.
Thanks, Joe. Hold on, let me put my hand back down. I don't disagree with any of the previous, Chris Haley, 71 Tennyson Road. I don't disagree with any of the previous speakers, including Ed as well, for that matter. But once again, FinCom as well as the select board and town staff have to come up with a way to pay for all of the stuff that's mentioned. And it's not a tall ask, but it all comes out of one piece of the pie, which, you know, we'll be divvying up in the future. But just one other point that I'd like to make is, as much as I'd love to make a permanent thing for conservation, like Chuck just mentioned, there's like 8 or 9 groups that have to come for that $20,000. So any money that we're going to just permanently set aside reduces it for everybody else. So we just have to be thoughtful and just plan that accordingly in the future. Do I agree that conservation should have $6,500? Of course. Like they get more in volunteer money spent than the $6,500 that we'd give them. But, you know, there's only so many pieces of the pie that we have to do. And, you know, that's why FinCom and everyone else will be able to discuss this. So thank you.
Chris, any other comments? All right. Seeing none, let's move on with our agenda. So it's only been a week since our last meeting, so that doesn't give us very many opportunity to have racked up liaison reports, but we do have an opportunity for that if anyone on the Finance Committee has something to share from their respective liaison assignments. Ed.
Of course, Joe, right? Why wouldn't I get a chance to add to that? So just a quick thing. One thing actually that I admitted from last week, and apologies to the committee, but from Killam School Building Committee, one item that I forgot to mention is that super fortunate that the school committee elected or nominated Carla Nazaro as their liaison to the Killam School Building Committee going forward. This is a kind of a a really huge positive, as she's been, kind of super capable in leading the committee, and really that continuity is welcomed, and her expertise. She's got her fingerprints on kind of a lot of what's been going on, and so just wanted to make sure that the folks were aware of that as well.
I will say the CPA, for my part, the CPA study committee did meet since our last, since FinCom's last meeting. I've had an awful lot of meetings lately. And yes, retrospecting on our presentation to select board and preparing for a presentation for, I believe it's Article 13 on the town meeting warrant, which this committee will, of course, discuss next week when we get the warrant. Anything else? Jeffrey?
Yeah, the school committee has not met, but I did note that they do have a lot of meetings scheduled, mostly executive session next week, to start discussing and interviewing candidates. So they're going to be hard at work next week in particular.
Which we appreciate. Anything else? All right, so I don't have my usual motion. Assistant Emily was unfortunately able to join, but thankfully Marianne can help me out here with because next on our agenda is the public hearing to review the town manager's recommended budget for FY27.
Okay, so legal notice to the residents of the inhabitants of the town of Reading. Please take notice that the Finance Committee of the town of Reading will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, March 4th, 2026 at 7:00 p.m. in the Select Board Meeting Room of Town Hall, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Mass., or available remotely on Zoom, to solicit public input on the town manager's recommended budget for FY27 prior to a Finance Committee vote upon completion of all town budget presentations. The purpose of this hearing is to provide the public with the opportunity to provide input on the budget and priorities outlined in the town manager's recommended FY27 budget. A copy of discussion documents regarding this topic will be in the Finance Committee packet on the website at www.readingma.gov. All interested parties are invited to attend the hearing in person or remotely via Zoom, or may submit their comments in writing or by email prior to 6:00 p.m. on March 4th, 2026 to townmanager@readingma.gov. And at the time this was posted, it was by order of Matthew A. Cornelis, Esquire, Town Manager, just to match whatever was legally posted in the paper 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
So I guess move to open the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you, Andre. This calls for a vote starting on Zoom. Ed?
Yes.
Jeffrey?
Yes.
Andre?
Yes.
Joe McDonough? Marianne?
Yes.
And Joe Carnahan, yes. I would love to hear about the budget. That's what we're here for.
So it doesn't seem like we have an order of what you wanted to take, so I was thinking we could do the budget book in order. But we do have at least one party that won't be here for next week's meeting, so they would like to present in the earlier part, which is the police department, because neither the chief or the deputy chief is available for the meeting on the 11th if we don't make it all the way through. So we definitely might want to take them first, but I figured I'd start by giving you kind of some updates of where we are and go into shared cost, and then maybe we could start with
information, Joe. I believe this is the public hearing where we're supposed to listen to the public, and then we would close the public hearing and move on to the rest of our agenda where we cover the budget. Is that?
So my understanding is that we do the presentation, and then if there were public comment the difference between this and our normal meeting is that normally the public can only comment during public comment, but in a hearing, we have to hear them.
Fair enough.
That's my understanding. Like that?
I think that's right.
Yep.
That's right.
The school committee does it a little differently.
And I'm sure it works for them. So that's great.
So I figured I would start with the financial forecast and let you know what's changed since our financial forum on page 14. If you could turn to that, please, Jackie, is our financial forecast.
Jackie's running the meeting, yeah.
If it was Maddie, I was gone.
Oh, no, it's Jackie. Is it 14 in the
It's 14 in the
page numbers?
packet, page number 14, yeah. So when we met at Financial Forum, we discussed a 3% operating budget, and we talked about the town taking a 2.75 to give 75,000 over to the school to give them a more manageable budget for them, 3.43. Overall, I think they end up being at 2% because they take their out-of-district special ed down. So the net amount is about a 2% operating budget, 2% increase in their overall budget, but their operating budget goes up 3.43. So it's kind of a reallocation of funds upward. And so we had agreed to that. And it was at $6,750,000 in free cash, which was a whopping number that none of us were comfortable with. Through a couple adjustments, but we were able to cut almost $300,000 off that number because we had adjusted some timing of debt. Joe Huggins had come to me and said, hey, there's something you have on here that I can wait a couple years for, $65,000. Can you push that out? I did that, so that helped us. So we had about $300,000 of savings. But then when we put our budgets together, once the department heads put their budgets together, I found that we were $321,000 over. And I felt pretty comfortable we could do the 2.75 because the salaries came in at under 2.75, but the expenses have been so lean for so long that there were a lot of asks. So we went through, me and Matt, and we cut that budget down the best that we could, and we were still falling short. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna have to look at the non-union staff. And I had said we had planned a step and a 1.25% COLA. Maybe we go with a straight COLA at 3% and reduce it by 0.6 to get some of the money that we need. And when I put that out to the department heads, you know, they were willing to accept that, but most of them felt badly for their non-union staff because they work with union staff that were getting much higher increases than that, and thought, is there anything we could do? And the chief of police had come to me and said, you know, we recently had one of our cruisers totaled. And in their budget every year, there's 2 cruisers that is funded every year. And he said, maybe we could take the money you need from the non-union away from my cruiser line, because I'm going to get 2 cruisers. One's going to be funded by insurance and the other one can be funded by the budget. So kind of a happy medium that we could get to. We're still getting 2 replacements in the year, but only one funded by the budget. So he let us take $60,000 away from his budget so that we could restore our original plan of a 1.25% COLA and a step for the non-union staff. The one thing I could not fit into all of our cuts was this $80,000 that we had for computer-aided dispatch for public safety. So for both fire and police, we had a very old and antiquated system, and the licensing for that new software that we purchased recently was $80,000 that wasn't there before. And so what I decided to do is, since we had accommodated cost, I decided to put that $80,000 as a community priority, because every department, town and school, you know, benefits from the services of public safety, and that did not exist prior. So I put that in as 80,000 because it would be covered under the accommodated costs, and I got us in balance because I could not cut the whole 321. I was just shy of that 80,000. And I figured you guys would be okay with that because I still brought down free cash by 200,000 by doing that. I was at about like $280,000 of savings. I took 80,000 and put it in as a community priority. And instead of having 6,750,000, we're looking at 6,550,000 of free cash. Nonetheless, still a whopping number, still a number I'm not comfortable with, but better than what we were looking at when we last met. So I wanted to make you aware of that process and how good every department head was about some very hard cuts that we had to make to get them there. And if you look at the budget for the town, there's on page, what page is it? Overall, the budget for the town side, for the departments without the shared cost, was going up just 1.7%. So we really went as lean as we could go. And so I feel like we all worked hard to get there. Because we're just trying to get at least one more year that we don't need this override. What page is it on? Do you see it?
I'm right behind you.
Oh, I have it in my packet. Let's see. It's on page 23 in the packet. The overall increase for the town departments came to 1.7%. So in order to do the 2.75, our expenses, all of our expenses, every department probably saw a reduction in expenses unless they were one of the ones that had an ad, like technology. That licensing falls under technology. And so we did cut a lot, very painful cuts. I don't see how we would make it next year if we didn't do an override. Every year I feel like I'm cutting more and more money in expenses, and there just isn't any buffer left there to cut. We don't have, and I feel like it's kind of evidenced in the fact that when we go back to town meeting, we don't have any buffer for the unexpected. We're having to ask for more things when we go to a subsequent town meeting. And I just think that it's important that we recognize that it would be really, really difficult to go into fiscal 28 without an override. That's just my opinion.
I concur.
So anyway, moving on. Shared costs start on, so that was what I wanted to give you as information of what's changed since we spoke last. On page 19, we start our shared cost, and you can see that shared costs are up 17.7%. The big hitter there is capital and debt and benefits. So our benefits were up 14% in this budget. At least health insurance was up 14% and 11.1 in total. So the big hitter in there is, there's pension, there's health insurance, and they come out to 11.1, but really health insurance went up on us 14%. And then also capital and debt, you see capital and debt go up 42.2%. And we have the first debt payment in fiscal 27 related to the first tranche of debt for our excluded projects. And so that makes things look really strange when you look at the overall picture. Even when you're looking at the budget, it says it goes up 7.9%. It's because we're charging for the debt service. It's an in and out. They net out. The reserves obviously stay the same. Vocational schools, we have it at 2.9, but I feel like that's an area that we always get surprised. We just don't know in advance. And last year, I think the Metro school went up 49% over the prior year. So increased enrollment plays a part in the fact that they had a 10.18% budget last year. They had an increase of 10.18, and then we got a bigger piece of the loan than we expected because our enrollment is up. So every year they're allocating all their expenses up based on your proportionate share of enrollment in their school.
Right. And
So-
because it's a new school, if I may add, because they're building a new school, it's more attractive to students because they can go in their
More people
first
want
year
it, yeah.
as a freshman and stay for those 4 years, you see? So
you do see that that's a line item that we do tend not to know enough about at the beginning, and you might see adjustments later. But some of the adjustments in recent years have been rather large. So I just wanted to point that out. Moving on, we have the details related to retirement and all of the benefits. So you can see health insurance 14%, Medicare 11.9. But this benefits area is an area of concern because it's just a lot of things going up in double digit.
Joe, go ahead.
Sharon, I know we've talked about this before, but on the pension side,
Yep.
I know we're trying to be fully funded by like 2032, but like at least for next year, could we look at trying to go out further? Because
It's not in my control.
No, but I don't know what the process is to look at it. Like, does someone have to go to the retirement board?
So I'm on the retirement board,
Yep.
and every 2 years they do a actuarial study to see what our liability is, and then we get an updated funding schedule. And then they get a host of options of what they can do, push it out, whatever. And the last 2 years, because it only counts for 2 years and then they do a new one, we were up 8.33%, which also disproportionately hit the general fund to the tune of like 16% the first year. I went back to the board when we were doing this and I said, that really hurt because inflation hit around the same time and we got hit with a 16% on the general fund. Like, can we bring some relief back to the town? Because I've got this budget blowing up in inflation in double digits on so many lines. And so they pushed out, I think, another year. So I think we're at 2032 and we were at 2029. We are doing the best we can. At the same time, you are mandated to be funded by 2040. And so it's a vote of the board to adopt that schedule. And so I'm only one vote on that board, but they were sympathetic and they brought it down to 5.3 from an 8.3. So they thought they were doing something to help us, and they did. But if they pushed out too far, then we're up against it, because if our investments don't perform well, we could really be up against the 2040 mandate, and we don't want to find out what happens if you're not funded by 2040.
Yeah, but we're still in a very good position, knock on wood,
Yes,
against other
but
towns.
it's not
like
up to
yours.
me. It's a vote of a 5-member board. I did what I could. I got it down to 5.3. So every 2 years is we have an opportunity to look at that funding schedule. And I made our arguments and I ended up with a 5.3. So that's where we're at. I mean, so I have to accept whatever that retirement board adopts. So
It's mandated, so you don't have a choice.
yeah, we have to do what they say.
You have to do it, it's mandated. So my question is for,
No, I know it's like mandated by 2040, but
No, the law says we have to, whatever that board adopts, we have to pay.
have to pay.
Right, did you had I saw Marianne and
We
Yeah, that's
might
fine.
have the
May-
same, we might have the same question, go ahead.
Same. Was the last one unemployment?
Yeah, same question.
But why unemployment so high?
Yeah, so unemployment is jumping up a lot. Is it a explanation of the invoices coming up high, or what's going on?
I have the same feeling. I feel like it's growing every year. And you would think unemployment is solely based on the decisions that we make to lay people off on the town and the school side, but there's more to it than that. So what I learned this week in meeting with our consultant about unemployment is that, you know, if we have somebody leave on their own accord and go to work somewhere else, you would think we'd be off the hook for their unemployment. But if they end up on unemployment within 15 months of leaving, we get a percentage of their unemployment. So sometimes, to no fault of our own, we have to pay to a percentage of somebody's unemployment that we didn't lay off because of just the way it works. We don't pay into, like, we're kind of self-insured for unemployment. So because we don't pay into the pool, that's the reasoning they're giving us, that when somebody is pulling from the pool and they were your employee within the last 15 months, we have to pay a portion. So I think that's part of what's making it climb, because maybe unemployment is up. And some of these people who leave us for a better position may end up getting laid off somewhere else, and then we end up with a portion of their unemployment. And because we're self-insured, we pay our portion in its entirety. It's not like we just pay a certain set fee every month and we're all set. It's based on what's actually going on with our employees. But in some cases, we learn that that's not always just based on our decisions. So is that... It was an unsettling response for me as well.
I know it's a line item it's been very unpredictable
Yeah,
That's right.
past few years. So when we see things like that, we're trying, okay, what is a way to like flatten out the curve, you know, because it goes up and down. And
what he had said to me is, if we wanted, as a municipality, we have the choice to be self-insured or to join the pool. But in order to get into the pool, for 2 years, we'd have to pay 1% of our gross payroll, and then it would drop down to 0.2. So we'd be paying a monster number to get in, and I can't imagine it would ever make sense. It's like a $1 million or something. It's a ridiculously high number, because they know that, you know, you could go back and forth. You could say, oh, I'm gonna do self-insured now, you know, to our benefit. Well, in order to make sure that you get that, you don't just get the benefit of being in a pool when it works for you, they make it hard for you to get 1% of gross payroll for the first 2 years, and then they drop it down to 0.2. So then even at 0.2 of our gross payroll, it was like $192,000 a year. So it's still more than what we're paying now. So it's like, it's hard to know what the right choice is, but I don't think going that direction will help us.
one last question for the health insurance. I know that line item has also been up and down a lot. I know the town has a buyout or opt-out from the health insurance. Have you guys looked at the amount of money that you are incentivizing folks to opt out at all, or is it the same as it was for?
We're kind of in negotiations with the PEC right now for plan design and any option that might save us on health insurance, but no decisions have been made yet. We were in a 3-year contract after Bob left, so this is the first negotiation since. So we had a 3-year contract, so we were under one that we hadn't had a negotiation since, so. We're currently in that process to see if there's a way that we could save money on health insurance, whether it be plan design or changing some elements of, currently one of the things they're talking about is the PPO and the HMO may be making it more expensive to be on the PPO than it is. There's not much of a nexus between the two. Try and make that more desirable for more people to go to the HMO because it's less expensive. You're just trying to work all different angles to try and figure out, is there a way we can keep this number under control? Because 2 years back to back, having double-digit growth doesn't work.
It's more of a comment for Sharon and Jane.
The last one was allegedly the last question.
I know. Okay. This is not a question, it's more of a comment. So every time I see a line item like that, and I've worked on the health insurance a lot, I know the ins and outs. It's the biggest expense that the town has, okay? And every time that you have the biggest expense, you kind of think of ways to mitigate that increase. And I urge you to look into creating a benefits reserve fund, okay? And I know every time we talk about creating something, well, what's gonna fund the benefit reserve fund? And maybe we come up with a way that part of the new growth for the town goes and funds that benefits reserve fund to maybe keep that under control, because I have a feeling that line item is gonna be like pretty expensive in the future years. But just a food for thought, benefits reserve fund, maybe you come up with a way to fund it with the new growth. Just start little, maybe it's something to look into it.
Sounds like a good idea.
So just building on the health insurance question, but in a different direction. I remember years ago, and this may be like, 8 or 9 years ago, Bob Lesher mentioned with health insurance increases that we also could have got into some state pool, but then he would say, oh, by staying where we were, we were at 7% and the state pool was at 10%, so we did better. Am I misremembering? Is there also another option with health insurance that?
You always have options, yeah, like the GIC or.
Yeah, GIC, that's what it is. What are the rates on that? And would that be worth considering for us, or is it even worse, or?
I feel like this is an across the board problem. I don't think it's necessarily who we're with. It's across the board, and they blame a lot of it on GLP-1 drugs that, you get this number that's doubling every year of people going on GLP-1, and so they eliminate it from the program as of July 1st.
Well, that's what a lot of private insurers have done.
And so, but even with that, we still ended up with a double-digit number. I mean, I think it's just, it's outrageous how much it's gone up, and it's across the board. And I think that they said the benchmark for the GIC was higher than where we were, so, yeah.
So that I couldn't remember.
So it
the name
wasn't
of
like
it,
we
but-
could switch at this point and get a better deal through another provider, but right now we're in contract with the PEC, so we have to kind of work with them to come to some agreement about what can change and where we can save some money. But for now, since we don't have an agreement, I've got it at 14, because I've noticed enrollment is up by like 1.5% in the health insurance. And we just received a 14% increase in the MedX, which changes at January. So I want to have a little buffer built into the number. We haven't had a buffer in a while, and I keep having to ask for more money for health insurance, because if there's an increase in enrollment, sometimes people opt out, some people come back on, and it's hard to know what's going to happen during the year, so.
Can I make a comment on that?
So Mary,
Yeah, I'm all done.
Yeah,
okay.
On the GIC stuff.
GIC, yeah. So I was part back then when we did the research and we looked into the government insurance. There's a few things, okay? First of all, that type of insurance is horrible for your employees, okay? It's when you compare it to what the town has one of the best insurance in the market. So, but it's not just a number. It's also an incentive for folks to come and work for the town. It's one of those benefits that you get for working at the town. So it's not just the amount of money that you save by switching. However, the government, the one that they offer, and I speak about my experience because my mother was on that insurance, compared to what the town has, it doesn't even offer half of the things that the town insurance offers. And it's very bad for your employees. And this was something that we evaluated back when Bob was a town manager. We looked at all of their co-payment, we looked what they covered, and it was not something that you want to offer your employees. And we even did we thought about how many people would leave just because of that, because it doesn't cover anything. You pay for it, but it's not covering much.
Joe?
Yeah, I guess tied to that too. Obviously, I agree, we want to be competitive for attracting and, retaining employees, but have we looked at as part of the plan redesign, the allocation of how much we pay versus the
Definitely looked
employee?
at that as well.
And do you know where we are versus like our peer group?
I feel
or-
like we're less advantageous than our peer group. It's a typical, most of the ones I saw were 75-25, we're 71-29. So I feel like we're kind of in the ballpark of everyone, but we're on the lower end of what I saw.
Okay. Thanks.
We want to move on?
I think so. That meant, I understand people had a lot, and you understand why people had a lot of questions about that one line in particular.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. Because I have those same
Right.
questions.
But please continue.
So in each page after that, you get more details about what makes up these costs. We can go through that. FinCom reserves, regional vocational schools, we talked about that. And the state assessments, which aren't voted at town meeting, but are deducted from our state aid, so they're always included in our budget. So you're able to see, we always budget them up 2.5, and we address them kind of as we know the actual state aid number, we would also address this state assessment number. On page 23, we have the town department budgets broken out with the increase for each department. And as I said, 1.7 overall. Technology looks large at 8.2, but that's where that $80,000 sits that we discussed that I made a community priority. Everybody else's budget, it looks very, very tame. Like we're doing everything we can to get as much time as we can out of this budget. And as far as shared costs, that's all that we have. Unless we have questions. I could go into the finance department budget, or we could start with police, however you want to do it.
Were there any other questions on shared costs? If not, we can certainly take public safety out of order if that's.
I think it'd be, do you want to do yours first? And then we can go in order of the book.
What page is public safety in this budget, or?
Let's see.
We'll get there, hold on.
Yeah.
So I think the presentation format,
Karen, if you're leaving, I should probably give Chris a heads up to adjourn.
Why are there 3 people online?
No, you're sorry, I'm wrong.
I'm gonna sign
forgetting
that
Karen.
home when I get home.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't want
All
to.
right.
Still be on.
All right, select board is still in session. Thanks.
so Mr. Chairman, just the format that Mr. Cornell has presented to department heads for their presentations this evening is just to go with this document and speak to it and then answer questions. So there's no formal presentation from any budget
Page just,
department.
see if we start on.
Jackie
Oh,
has,
she has it up there?
Jackie, what page are you on?
I think she's.
59, 50, no, yeah, somewhere in the high 50s.
Yeah, I definitely have.
61.
61.
Thank you.
Sorry, 61.
1 second while everyone frantically scrolls.
Okay,
All right. All right, I'm there. I'm on, this isn't, yeah, please. There we go. I'm on the same place as my deck. So, please take
All right,
it
well,
away.
thank you for taking us out of order, and I appreciate that the department heads letting us go first. Like I said, the deputy chief and I have conflicts next week, so we wanted to just ensure that we could get up and speak. I'll just keep it quick. We work hard to strive to be one of the best police departments in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We are a very community-oriented police department. I think anybody that follows us in the press, social media, or anything realizes we're very active, very out there engaged in the community, and we've gained the community trust. We've continued to have the community trust and backing from the community. With that, also, we've been very fortunate. I want to say out of about the past 14 hires, we've only had to send 4 people to the academy. The rest of them transfers over from other police agencies to us, which is a huge cost savings to the town because the police academy is 6 months long. And we hire somebody, we're paying for the academy, paying for all the equipment, and paying the salary while we're in the academy. And if we're down a body or 2 or 3, we're paying overtime to backfill the shifts. So when we're taking police officers, experienced police officers from other agencies, bring them in, it's a quick training to kind of learn our CAD system, our computer to dispatch system, our report writing, our policy procedures, learn the town, and get them out there. So it's a huge cost saving, and Reading's a big draw. We are very well respected and among our peers, and we do have people come in. With that, we are currently full staffed. With that, we do have a officer who's been deployed since July in the National Guard. His orders are till December 31st, 2026, at a minimum. We don't know how long it's gonna be after that. We do make up the difference in his salary between the town of Reading and the National Guard salary. That's a standard. That shift is at minimum. So every time now somebody takes off, there's an overtime. Somebody has to go to training, somebody has to go to court, somebody else sick, somebody's on vacation, it does a cost. At one point this fiscal year, just so you don't, everybody's heads don't explode in April, when I go in front of April town meeting, and I'm asking for a lot more money because my budget is short for overtime. It is because we were down 3 dispatchers and 4 police officers at one point. And it takes about 5 months to train a dispatcher. So normally in the past, I've been able to cover a lot of that with open salaries. We've been able to cover that. We have not been able to cover that anymore. Raises have gone up, and it's no criticism. We're glad our employees are getting raises. We're glad they're getting great contracts. It helps us recruit better people and better qualified people here, and we can actually pick and choose. Other police agencies are not having this. I can name some surrounding towns near us that are down 11 bodies, 8 bodies, 9 bodies, because they're not recruiting the people we have. We're recruiting because we have great benefits. It's a great town to work for. We have a great reputation. And with that, though, our overtime, because we've been keeping to what we were allowed to keep to for a budget, I can't sustain it anymore. And that and I'll have a bigger presentation for April town meeting, that with covering all the events that happen with police overtime that was never funded for us, we just can't continue to do it. But we hopefully, at the end of June, we have 1 officer graduating the academy. We had 2 laterals that came over. We'll still be down 1 body. We have all 3 dispatchers hired. We should be better, but we're still gonna be short. And pretty much every single year, I'm probably gonna be going in front of April town meeting asking for funds to cover. So not to be a downer, we're talking about funding and everything, but that's kind of where we are. We are anticipating a retirement in 2027. And I just, as you can see, we're put in there, it was just a small portion of what we cover for community policing programs. And just to be clear, the offices, a lot of times the offices go on shift and/or they're going for what's called compensatory time. It's not for overtime. They get compensatory time, so they get some time off benefits from it. Compensatory time cannot cause overtime. So they usually leave an hour early from the shift because we have overlaps built into the shifts. They usually leave an hour early, come in an hour late. If the shift is at full staffing, they can take the night off, that kind of stuff. So these programs aren't costing us money, and not to mention that they're also funded. The Women's League of Reading donates a couple $1,000s to us every year to help sponsor RAD. The Trooper Tamara Bucci Memorial Fund is going to be fully funding our Youth Police Academy. All the businesses donate for our ice cream citation program. So we have been able to help self-fund a lot of what we have and not cost the town any money while we're still engaging with the community. And then we continue to focus on training and emphasis on de-escalation training. We strive to be one of the best trained agencies. We do not want to become the least trained agency or only train at the state minimum. That's what we're trying to avoid. We think the town of Reading expects well-trained police officers, professional police officers, and you need to train to that level. We have a great group of men and women for this department, and we continue to offer some of the best training out there, but we want to be one of the highest trained departments, not the minimum. Again, we had some stuff worked in the contracts, so it was like payback time for certain benefits they got, where the officers come in on their own time. It's a certain amount of payback time. We've worked a lot of things to kind of keep the money there, but it's the cost of the contract raises with what my overtime budget's been funded for. It's not sustainable. Deputy, do you want to add anything to that at all? It's just, everybody knows Deputy Chief Amendola? Okay. I was going to do that.
No, I guess I have nothing to add.
Sorry. I don't know if anybody had any questions about that before we go into some of the numbers.
I don't see any hands on Zoom. Please continue.
Is Maddie or Jackie? Is Jackie on? Jackie, go down just a little bit if you don't mind. Oh,
Ed has made me a liar. Ed, yes.
Sorry about that, Joe. It's really hard to find the raised hand function. Just a quick thing. Thanks, Chief, Deputy Chief. It's always great to hear from you, Deputy Chief. Don't let him occupy the microphone if you don't have to.
She said, appreciate it, Ed. Yeah, I'll go sit down. Thank you.
Just a couple of quick things, Chief. You talked about the the overtime and the staffing and I know you kind of briefly mentioned kind of why we're at full staff, but just have you been able to kind of like pinpoint, is it just is it a reputation thing, is it just benefits, why are we so appealing to candidates? Is it just something that I just interested in how we could lean into that more if we need to, or is this just kind of a curiosity on my end?
So I'm going to answer the deputy chief. You seem to like her answering better. So which one do you want? Honestly, Ed, no, I appreciate the question. One thing is we have a town that supports us, and you don't see that in a lot of areas. I think it's the hardworking staff that we have, and the fact that we do a tremendous amount of community outreach, and we're out there, we're visible. And we do a ton of programs. We do a bunch of social media. We're very active out there. And I think we've gained the town support. The town's always supported us. Finance committee supported us. Town meeting supported us. When we've asked for things, they've been very great about helping us. We have a great group of officers. We're listed as one of the more respectable departments out there. The deputy chief and I are very active within chiefs organizations. I'm the vice president of Middlesex Chiefs. The deputy chief sits on a bunch of committees, one to be in the training council. She's involved in accreditation, high up on the board for that. So we kind of are well known throughout within our own peers. And I just think it's a supportive town, a great staff to work for. And the town of Reading does have a great reputation for that. And as a result, we're actually in the unique benefit of, we have trouble narrowing down who we want sometimes. We could be interviewing 6, 7 police officers for one position. It's a great position to be in. Other towns aren't having that. And we've been very fortunate to have that. I think it's just a combination of being supported, being funded, and people come to us because they want to do the community outreach they're doing, and their agencies aren't doing that.
But we also
that's awesome.
Service.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. So we've been out of civil service, and what as policing in itself is down numbers, and there's not 500 people trying to become on every department anymore. These officers are now looking at your contracts. They can see it online. They ask us for it. So we really have to keep their contract up and well and give them things outside the box, like, trying to work out if we have extra people on that shift and things like that. So they really do look at our contract. Being out of civil service, though, is huge, and it's very helpful for us.
Yep. With that, being out of civil service, we can recruit the best of the best. And we've recruited out-of-state officers to leave their agencies to come to us, and surrounding agencies to come to us. It doesn't make us very popular, the chiefs, but is what it is.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Ed, just to add to that, the chief and the deputy chief are excellent managers, and their staff like working for them. They have created programs that are interesting for police officers, the drone program, the motorcycle program, the therapy dogs, canine program. So it's a versatile agency where that also attracts candidates, and we've heard that come out in interviews. But their management style is to be complimented, and it's a big part of the esprit de corps in their department.
Thank you, Jane.
You're welcome. You're welcome, guys. I teed that up. I teed that up to James for say that's about you guys.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Thanks, Audrey.
No, it really does cost money. The police world's small. We have a lot of friends on other agencies, and the police officers are very unmotivated in some of the towns that just can't fund them the way they need to be. They don't have these extra programs. There's not a lot of movement in the department. There's not a lot to, go for, look up to here. These guys love it. There's a lot of things that keep them busy and occupied into loving policing, like the drone unit, canine. And it does cost money, though. So you can see the difference on towns that are funded well and towns that just don't have it to give their PD.
And with that, though, we got a grant for the canine program. We had seizure funding that we used to fund the drone program. So we found ways of doing it without hitting the actual tax dollars. So we've been able to kind of fund those programs and those abilities for other officers to come in with that.
All right.
These are just questions because I don't understand them, and the change, there's nothing bad. Like, how come crossing guards is down and patrol officers is down, and even parking enforcement, like this minor amount? Are you just shifting human hours around?
So for crossing guards, I think at one point we're up to 19 crossing guards. We've been every year reevaluating, working with the schools. We have a great partnership with the schools. We've been working in evaluating the crossing guard posts, having the traffic safety officer go out there and count the amount of people we're crossing. And we've actually narrowed it down to 15 crossing guards.
Oh, I
and
see. So
2 in
you
front of
don't-
every school.
So you don't need
And there's a couple outliers that need it because of West Street or different areas, but for right now, we've narrowed it down to 15 crossing guards. We've met with the schools, we've talked to the schools, the individual principals, the superintendent, they're on board with it, and so we've been able to cut some of the funding. Now, we work with Sharon. Sharon was able to take some of that funding and throw it into our overtime line to kind of help fund the training and overtime. The park enforcement officer, she only works 32 hours a week. It was funded at 35 because of the traffic rules and regulations. For her to come in one day for a couple of hours, she actually can't enforce anything because most of the hours are 2 hours of 4-hour parking. So it's kind of a waste. So we have her for 32 hours, and
But
she
what about
flexes her day of the week.
The patrol officers seems like a significant
Yep, so
decrease.
that was an internal shifting. So what happened was within our line items, we had a separate line for detectives, and we have what's
To
called.
move them?
No, what happened was we have specialists, traffic and safety officer, community service officer, our armorer, fleet manager, and the person that does license and carries. They were still in patrol, and it got confusing sometimes. We were budgeting stuff, so they're considered specialists. Detectives are specialists, the school resources are specialists. So we moved them out of patrol and moved them into the detectives line. That's why the detectives line went up so much, but the patrol officer line went down. It's the same amount of money. It's just more of an internal housekeeping, thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'm
Or
seeing
did it confuse you more?
Yeah, when I look at
Okay.
the overall change. Thank you.
Ed has a hand up again.
Ed, one question, I'm sorry.
No, it's one question, but it's in 14 parts. No, I just had 2 follow-ups. Thanks, Joe. Chief, when you were talking about the self-funding, kind of options and the things that you'd kind of documented before, is there something like, how is that shared so that, that you can get those? Is that, is there, a kind of a specific, kind of mechanism that's used to, so that, those funding options are, people know about them, or, whether it's grants or businesses or whatever that, you mentioned the women's, league does that. Like, is there, kind of, a facility that's out there where that's at, not advertised, for lack of a better term? I just out of curiosity.
So what we try to do is when we get a check from the Women's League, we try to have their executive board come out and do a photo with us and do social media where they're tagged and we're tagged on our social media so people are aware of it. Same thing with the Trooper Tamara Bucci Foundation. We have been having them come out. We've been doing some social media posts with them, thanking them. Any local business that donates anything, like Harrow's. I neglected to mention Harrow's. When we do the senior citizens dinner, Harrow's restaurant is donating all the food to that for us. And so it's one of the things we praise them. We put them online. They post it. We try to put articles out, press releases out when we do it. So we try to do as much as we can between press releases, social media, them tagging us tagging them on their social media. We really try to get out as much as we can.
Yep. Well, that's good. I just, curious. It's fantastic. I just didn't, it sounds like it just happens organically, and that's great. I kind of have one, and this is probably like an unfair question, but for you, and then kind of tangentially to Sharon, I'm really interested in the kind of the what ifs, in case things, kind of happen in the future. And I know you mentioned that, there is an impact, kind of to overtime, kind of based on staffing issues, with the one officer that's in the guard. How do we have any kind of metrics as far as what it looks like if you were down another officer or 2 officers, and how that, kind of negatively impacts, kind of like the budget, and kind of what position that puts obviously it puts the town in a bad position from a public safety perspective, but then there's also probably a knockdown, kind of budget impact. And so just kind of curious, kind of as we start to look at where we're going to be at in the future, if we've got some numbers that kind of show that, from a budget perspective.
I can respond a little bit to it. So one thing I will say is that when we have overtime incurred, when it's an open position, we're not paying 2 people. When you have somebody who's out, like who's, on injury, let's say, or like you have somebody in the guard, we're paying somebody to cover overtime because that person's not there, and we're paying that person. And that's where problems really lie, when there's a situation where you're paying more than one person for the, that same spot, kind of, because you're paying somebody who's out on, disability, their pay, and then you're having to cover their slot with overtime, which is a time and a half. So that's where things start to snowball on you. But in some cases, when you have open positions causing the overtime, those open positions offset some of the overtime overage that you have because you're not paying anybody while that position's open. So it's a balancing act, and it's difficult. And we've definitely seen people ask the question. I always wonder if it would make a difference if we had like a more flex officer that could cover some of these shifts. Like if you added one officer, could you bring overtime down? It's really hard to say. It's really unique to what's going on that year in terms of who's out on injury, who's out, on the guard, and how many of these positions are open causing overtime. I mean, time and a half is going to drive it higher than what they might have been paid, right?
But yes, but then in the inverse though, it's not just as easy to say, okay, well, we're going to have one less officer and then we get to save that money because because there's a cascading effect that you have to backfill the hours. And so you have more overtime. So, it's not just, if we ever put in that unfortunate position where we had to do that, it's not just a strict, kind of easy line item, correct?
Correct. And also, Ed, it's my concern to be the effect on the mental health of the officers. Overtime is great. People like it to a point. And
100%.
We're at the stage where, like, we were down to those offices, we were ordering in at least 1 or 2 shifts a week. And that's people that are on their days off or their 1 weekend off in 4 weeks. And now they're getting ordered in from midnight to 8 in the middle of a blizzard. It's the mental health effect of that too, and the wellness and the morale really, and that makes us less attractable of an agency as well.
We can't really also plan for it because we have 3 different shifts with 3 different staffing minimums. And, we have officers from step 1 to 7. So depending on who covers that open shift, it varies so much.
Thank you for that clarity. I knew it was more complicated than that, but I think it's important for us to make sure that we're, kind of as a community, kind of well on the same page as far as what some of those, just financial impacts are, and then everything that you relay, it kind of talks to how it affects staff, how it affects public safety in general. So really appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, Joe.
Henry,
If I recall correct, the contract are expiring for all of your union contracts on 2027, right, Sharon?
Yeah, so June 30th, 2027, dispatch, patrol officers, and supervisors are all expired.
Have you guys started planning on that at all, or?
We usually start talking in the fall. Yeah, we usually start talking in the fall, kind of. We usually have a couple meetings in advance, like, is there anything crucial that we need to discuss, any issues? And then we get some guidance of what raises can be. But we usually start talking in the fall. I'm very lucky. I have 3 extremely reasonable union presidents and e-boards who are understanding. A lot of my staff does live in town, so that's great. So they can understand. They're thinking of it as Reading residents and staff. So, but yeah, my guess is fallish. We'll start kind of sitting down, start conversations, and usually in December, January, we start really ramping up.
And so the new school and the Recall Center, with all the community events and all that's gonna go on there, do you expect any new hires, or will you be able to maintain those with the current staffing that you have now, or?
So I'm not gonna lie, at some point, I'm gonna need to increase staff. We're at 46 sworn officers from me down. At some point, with all the apartment buildings going in, and it's not just the apartment buildings, I'm gonna credit Chief Nelson, who's actually made the best point. People,
Been like that for 10 years. We were at 46, yeah.
But he brought up the fact that it's not just the apartment buildings, it's all these single-family homes getting torn down and the 2 and 3 units that are being built. People, I think, overlook that. And 5 or 6 of those 2 or 3 units can equal a small or medium-sized apartment building. And I think that gets overlooked sometimes with the population growing. And I don't think that's always captured sometimes. At some point, I know they did a manpower study years ago. I'm old, I've been on the job 31 years. Years ago when I was first on, before Home Depot, Jordan's came in, and the manpower study said it was supposed to be at 50 offices. And we're at 46. At some point, if you call 911, we're gonna come. If you need an emergency, we're gonna be there. What's gonna happen though is we're gonna become so busy responding to calls for service, emergency calls, the proactive stuff. And what I mean by proactive, not just community policing, I'm talking traffic enforcement, that kind of thing, being active out in there, being visible, driving around the communities. That's going to be impacted. We're not going to be able to sustain the proactive part of it, we're just gonna become a reactive police department at some point. And it's the reality of it, and that's what happens. With that though, there's an impact. Traffic accidents go up because we're doing less traffic safety, your car insurance rates go up. If there's more house breaks, more car breaks, your car insurance goes up, your homeowner's insurance goes up. We are voted one of the safest communities. Our office is very visible, very active out there with lower crime rates, has lower numbers for everybody. So there is a direct impact on insurance rates for the people who live in town.
Makes sense. And that, I haven't followed too much, but the computer aided dispatch system, was that on the capital plan?
Yeah, it was
Was
like-
it removed or?
Oh, no, it actually
Is it
was purchased.
It
was
was
this
probably
year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
Now, do we need a subscription? Is it subscription based or no?
So we have to pay that $80,000 licensing every year.
Okay, so that moved from one-time
So this was the first
expense.
year we're being hit with it,
okay.
and so that's,
So
and so
it-
it
it's about
wasn't an
3 years
existing
service.
line
Gotcha.
already, so.
And just so you know, the computer dispatch program, we replaced a system we've had since 1985. We used function keys, caps locks with a blue screen. It was archaic.
Like DOS basically stuff.
Yeah, and so this is, it's for the police and fire.
And this might sound not reasonable, but I've heard that when things like this happen, they talk about regionalizing like things. Like, is there such a thing of regionalizing dispatch centers at all? or-
It is. I'm gonna tell you, I will fight that tooth and nail from FinCom, Select Board, and Town Meeting.
Okay.
It is awful, and if you talk to the police departments that have done it,
I don't
it's
like it.
awful, and it does not save you the money you think it does. Because let's say we join a rec, we join a regional dispatch center with a bunch of other towns, and they say, oh, we don't use your CAD system, we use this system. So you need, and it's gonna cost you $100,000 to have it on board with that CAD system. And then 2 years later, they decide, not us, hey, we don't like that CAD system anymore, which system is this one? Now it's gonna cost you $200,000, and if you want to be part of the rec, you have to pay for it. It's also because the dispatchers can sometimes cover the desk for us if there are big emergencies going on until we get extra bodies in. That means we can't have officers leave the station anymore, we can't leave the station abandoned. So it means I'm probably gonna need, not probably, I'm gonna need 5 more officers to cover the station, have a full-time desk officer. Not to mention, if you join and you leave to come back, the 911 stations that we currently have paid for the state, they don't pay for them anymore. We have to buy them to go back to our own dispatch center. And I also, from the community perspective, you lose that one-on-one. You have some random dispatcher who's never been in Reading, taking phone calls for something going on. They don't realize that Main and Pearl is touched at 2 locations, one by Rocky Road and one up by Sanborn Hill. It affects dispatch, it affects our ability to get information. Our dispatchers know certain people. We have certain people we deal with regularly. They know, like, hey, we're gonna call from this. Hey, just remember that so-and-so, this person has autism. Our officers know it, our dispatchers know it. You lose that one-on-one connection as well. So if that's a suggestion, I'm telling you, I'm gonna publicly fight that, yep.
I heard of them, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ask the chief to see what's his opinion on it. That's
Well,
why
we
I brought
heard
this
that,
up.
I know most people are saying, well, North Reading never had dispatchers, so we wanna be clear, their police officers have always covered
what I
their
heard.
desk.
Yeah.
So it's probably a win for them because the police now are on the street, but they've never had dispatchers, so.
Okay, and this is more comment for Shannon. So I know this is it's a police-related expense, so I don't know why, so, okay, because
Why
I
is it in
looked at.
technology?
Yeah, why is it in technology?
So this is police, sorry, this is police and fire. So this is for both of us,
Okay.
yeah. And because it's a sorry, I'm in Chairman, because it's a technology-based piece, we couldn't do this without Kevin and Jen.
Right.
And,
Yeah, I'm looking out for Kevin because his budget goes
Yeah.
up because of that.
yeah, but he's going up because of us, but it's a necessity, but yet honestly, we couldn't do it without Kevin and Jen and IT's help.
Okay.
It's all centralized so that you can look in one spot to see all our technology costs, so. So unfortunate for Kevin, because something
Yeah,
that he
I know.
didn't actually decide to do impacts his budget.
That's why he's not talking to the fire chief or I, so.
All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Joe, your question? Just quickly, hopefully. For community events now, you're charging back. I know there's trade-offs to the community for this, but you charge back for like police details, correct?
Some of them.
Some of them, that's a discussion I'm gonna have at April town meeting. Not Matt, his predecessor, decided that we were paying for all events.
Certain big events that
Certain
they
big
were
events.
starting to view as private but town,
Yeah.
yeah, that,
And it kind of got to the point where I'm not gonna pick and choose what I'm covering, what I'm not covering, so I put that on that town manager. I shouldn't be making that choice, because it gets very ugly for me. Yep, I'm gonna fund you, no, I'm not gonna fund you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So large events, yes, it's become the point we're paying for a lot of things that I'm just not budgeted for. Certain events, yeah, they're town events, absolutely, we should be covering them. There's a lot of other events that aren't town events that we're paying for to cover with police details, and we're not billing them back.
Right, and I hate to suggest this, but for parking tickets, speeding tickets, all that good stuff, like, I know it's probably a small amount, but we could raise the amounts on those. Are they governed by?
We can't touch speeding tickets, that's a state law, and we're at the highest for parking.
Okay. Yeah, just.
I think only we started getting creative, we found in the law you can double the parking tickets. So if someone is in a 2 hour.
Late fines or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
If they're still continuing to violate it, you can hit them again, ticket them again. But we're at the max of what you're supposed to issue the first time.
Okay. And do we have any sense, like compared to other communities, the amount of like warnings versus?
So you're not gonna like this answer.
And I didn't bring this up, so.
I'm a fan of warnings. I think it's about educating the public. Also, if I whack you with a speeding ticket, who wins? The insurance company, because they're gonna jack your rates for the next 3 years. I don't think it's great for community policing. It's just great. We have certain standards, like if you're the speed or over, it's an automatic ticket. We're very consistent with that. That way it's always, it doesn't matter who the person is, they get the ticket. I'm not a fan of, first of all, I can't tell an officer to write money fines. It's illegal. I can't put a quota on them. That's illegal. But I'm a big fan of warnings. I believe it's more about educating the public. If you're an idiot driver, we're gonna get you again. And our system keeps track of it, and we'll ticket you. But for the first time interaction, I don't wanna hammer some 16-year-old kid or some 80-year-old woman that went the wrong way down a one-way accidentally. I don't wanna ticket some 16-year-old kid that just got his license, is now gonna lose his license because he only had it for 6 months and he rolled through a stop sign and he didn't come to a complete stop, and now we whack him and he loses his license for 3 months. I'm not a believer in that. I think that's very anti-productive. Plus, not to mention, I can't order my officers to write tickets. It's illegal.
Yeah.
We looked at all our services though, like we do fingerprinting for certain licenses. We do license to carry. We're at the top of all of it. The only thing that has wiggle room, and I hate to say it, they're gonna watch, the compost, the depot sticker and the employee parking passes. That has no laws with it. You can do whatever you want. But all of the things that we pay our services for, we're at the top.
I am going to be going in front of the select board at some point to make a presentation. I believe it's them. I don't know if it's the, I got to find out who would do it, or the bylaw committee. We're one of the few towns that actually doesn't charge for false alarms. False alarms, most agencies, I did a whole thing in Middlesex County. I heard from all the chiefs. I'm just putting it together for a presentation. And if you have 3 false house alarms more a year, then you get cited $50, $100, $150 for doing it. It forces compliance, because I can tell you there was one business, for example, we must have had one weekend like 19 alarms.
It's more
at that
commercial
business.
than residential issue, yeah.
But it forces people to fix it. For us, we have to take every alarm like it's legitimate, and we have to send a minimum of 2 cruisers to it. So it's a lot of cost of service for us that aren't needed. So I am working on a presentation to I'm looking at the force compliance, but it can also be a little bit of a generate revenue.
And the amount that do you have an amount that you're asking for at town meeting? Like, not to, maybe you don't want to disclose that now, or.
My daughter told me to start with 1 million and see what you guys said, because you can only get better from that.
I'm just trying to think.
I mean, I was thinking of that because I'm looking,
How much is he asking for overtime?
Yeah.
250,000.
That's okay. That's locked.
like,
That'll be in the article.
there's an FY26 overtime line on the screen right now, but we all know that's not actually what ended up happening in FY26, is it? No.
Like I said, I've been able to kind of
I think we're almost there.
work with it. I've been able to kind of work with it where it's using open salaries and stuff. I can't self-sustain that anymore. And it's also emergencies too. Like we had a SWAT call out in the summer with an armed individual who was intoxicated, threatened to kill himself. We weren't sure if the parents were still in the house. SWAT came out. Our officers were barricading off. We had evacuated some houses in the neighborhood. That means our entire shift is down there. So Melrose, Wakefield, and Stoneham will cover us temporarily until we get more bodies in. So we have to backfill the shift because we still have to cover the town. When the fire department has a massive fire and they're having stuff going on, just like the James Road one we just had, there's so many interlocking streets and everything. We had to have most of our shift there. We had to backfill to cover the shift. Plus we had to have detectives to come out to work with the fire marshals to investigate an arson possibly. Mm-hmm. So there's storms. We have massive storms. We have to hire extra dispatchers, extra officers to make sure we have enough bodies on the road to go to these type of emergencies. So there's a lot of emergency situations too. I'm hoping we're not gonna be as bad next year with the staffing.
Given the full staffing.
But we're gonna be over. I'm just being honest with you, we're gonna be over.
Looking around.
Are you done with me? Oh, no. Because we still have dispatch of the coalition.
I'm not asking people to ask questions, but if you have questions, you should ask them. Go ahead, Jim.
It just came up, I saw in the newspaper that I think it was Chelmsford just announced that they had body cameras for all their officers. And I wondered what your position is and
So if I was an officer still on patrol and I miss being a cop, I hate being behind of a desk, I still go out and make traffic stops.
Yeah.
I would love it for my protection. It's actually been proven not what people thought it would be. It's actually clearing more officers from false complaints than it's actually jamming officers up. I'm 100% for it. We do have to negotiate with the unions because it's a
Change in work.
thank you, change of work conditions. That's why I have the deputy edit kind of, so I don't say stupid stuff. It's a change of work conditions, so we would have to negotiate with the unions. It is not cheap. A lot of people think it's buying the body camera. It's not. It's
the backup system.
Once again, Kevin's budget is going through the roof.
There's a big old software license in there.
Kevin's budget, Kevin's stroking out right now because his
You need
budget's
another
limited.
person.
We would actually, the software we would need to keep all the records and the public records requests, they have shown that agencies that have it, the public records requests go through the roof with body-worn camera footage. And we have to have somebody sit there and redact it. It's not like a report. We can actually have like social security and dates of birth automatically redacted. Somebody has to sit there, unless it's a 3-hour scene, they have to sit there and listen to the whole 3-hour scene, bookmark where the stuff they have to take out. So if it's anything medical, a juvenile, domestic violence, HIPAA related, all that has to be redacted, and then they have to burn the new copy. It's not expensive. I'd need another administrative person to do this. And like I said, Kevin's budget's gonna go through the roof because of the software we're gonna need to pay for and the annual subscription to pay for it.
And a new, very good negotiation with the union to
Yes.
get that, yes.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you just said that you would love to have the camera because it clears things up. So wouldn't it actually, wouldn't the union be happy to see this? Because
I'm gonna be honest with you.
It's
No, I'm gonna
half and half.
I'm gonna be flat out honest. It's about half and half. The one concern is there's some from Jerry for generic language out there, one of them coming from our district attorney who wants a policy that is unacceptable to us on body-worn cameras. And that is that if there's an incident, you can't review that body-worn camera during writing a report. If there's video footage, why can't you, when you're writing a report, did the person step off on lines, like did they, on the drunk driving arrest, did they step off on line 7 or like step 8 or step 7? And the officer's concern is like, look, I recall step 7 and they watch the video court in step 8. Am I gonna get jammed up because I wasn't truthful in my report? And that's the concern, and we've been fighting with the district attorney about that for a while now, and like, this is why unions are reluctant against the body-worn cameras. They want them to protect themselves, by all means. That's what they're reluctant about, is like, what's the why? And that's the concern is, and there's some very, like, the Post Commission, which regulates us, there's some very generic language that hasn't been settled yet about body-worn cameras and reviewing them when you can't review them. They want officers to write the reports before they review them. Like, but we watch the booking video before we write a report. What's the difference? So that's why we just have to, other than that, I think they'd be.
I think our officers would feel safe and trusted if we were, we would write the policy, but they're afraid that the Post Commission can change that or the district attorney. So I think that's the reluctance with some of the unions.
And I understand that. If you're like, why, like if you had a camera on you and you're like, okay, hey, what happened to that meeting? And you're thinking back a week ago, oh, I think this happened. I think Sharon said this, and it's Jane. Like, oh, so you don't know what happened? Jane's the one that said it, not Sharon. If you could review the video, it's like, oh, that's right, Sharon said this. Not like that. It just, it doesn't make sense to us, and that's the reluctance.
Yeah, thank you.
But again, it's not cheap.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's a moot point until we can pay for it.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? No, I don't see any more questions.
All right, Jackie, can you just go to expenses? You guys, you good with expenses? We honestly, we tried to do what we can. The police cruisers, as Sharon explained, I do need 2 cruisers every single July because we do run them 24/7, and they get the garbage beat out of them. They're hot swapped, means that like the day shift goes in, evening shift takes it, overnight shift takes it, day shift takes it. By the time we retire them from the fleet, there's usually about 200,000 to 300,000 miles on them, about 200,000 to 300,000 idle mileage on them. They're beat up. Because we had a car get totaled and insurance bought us a brand new one, I was able to kind of at least offset this year with that. Ammunition is the next biggest thing. The cost of ammunition is going up. We do minimum of 2 range days a year, 8 hours. We're very proficient with the weapons, the less lethal rounds for the 40 millimeter, the taser cartridges, the shotguns. We want to practice with the equipment that we have, so we're very proficient in it. So that was a cost increase, but we kept it at a bare minimum. Like I said, we're not, We didn't go crazy with any of it. Next would be dispatch, I believe. I think we jumped to dispatch and not the I lied to you, the coalition. Everybody knows Erica, Jess, and Tanya. They've been fantastic. They do a tremendous amount of work and a tremendous amount of follow-up work that's so people don't fall through the cracks. What they do and the benefit they are to the police department is incredible. And they just get to, they make sure that when the office notify them what's going on, officers notify them when people need help, substance abuse, mental health issues, parents seeking advice. They do the follow-up for us. That follow-up is missing in the state. They take care of that for us. So we wouldn't be able to have as good of a police department, and families would be struggling, frankly, if we didn't have them doing what they're doing. And the outreach and the public health clinician, mental health clinician, she also meets with the officers regularly and checks in with the officers and sits down with them after there's big events. She'll meet with the officers, go on ride-alongs with them. Officers respond to a suicide, sudden death, and anything. Especially the younger officers that are like the deputy chief and I are both former military. We were kind of used to seeing dead bodies and stuff. A lot of the younger kids coming out of college aren't. And so she kind of checks in with them, make sure they're doing good, meets with them regularly. It's been great for staff. Dispatchers as well. Dispatcher, there's nothing worse than a dispatcher taking a call and walking through somebody through CPR because you feel helpless because you're just sitting there. And they kind of walk them through that. So she meets with the dispatchers as well. And she's been great. But the coalition, we couldn't do what we do without them. Jack, I don't know if you can go up to, again, the only thing I asked for an extra $250 in supplies for expenses. And it's just their salaries. I mean, that's it. So, and then dispatch. Again, dispatch is 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They do our 911 regular business lines for police and fire, dispatch calls, dispatch fire and police. They also do what's called EMD, emergency medical dispatch. So when there's a call going on, they actually walk somebody through first aid. It's a computer program where they type in answers when they're on the phone. They type in answers to the question, like, is the person breathing, yes or no? Depending on your answer, it brings you to the next screen. And they can actually walk people through life-saving first aid until the fire department and the police department get there. It's not an easy job. We have a lot of turnover in dispatch because it's not made for everybody, but we have 10 civilian dispatchers and 1 head dispatcher. The reason his salary is down is because we had a long-term head dispatcher after serve for 22 years with the town that retired. We have a new dispatcher that came in. He started at a lower step. That's why there's a savings there. Everything else is salaries, unions, and the only thing we ask for them is an extra $1,000 in technology, and also fee increases for emergency medical dispatch. So again, we kept it bare bones as possible.
Any other questions from anyone? I don't see any hands. Thank you both very much.
Thank you. Ed, I'm leaving now. The deputy's staying up.
Bye, Ed.
Yeah. All right. Hand the
So the next
MC
would
back
be-
to Sharon and Jane. Where would you like to go next?
Want to go to administrative services, we'll just go in order.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we're just gonna start at the administrative services, which is page 26 of the book, 31 if you're looking at the thing. That's where it starts. I'm just sliding down here.
Of the book, 26 of the book.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna go through really broadly. Administrative services is the divisions of operations, human resources, the town manager's office, the town clerk's office, and elections. What's impacting the budget this year is elections. This is really a level services budget. Instead of funding 1 election, we're funding 3 elections this coming year. One thing that we would like the FinCom's opinion on going forward is to basically stay at 3 elections funded annually. Because some years we have, and we've had more of these lately, we have extra elections, unexpected elections that were not special elections. And so that impacts the budget, especially in those years when we only have 1, well, actually any year there's a special election. It's an extra election that costs money. So that's a huge factor. If we keep it at the 3 elections funded annually, then the years that we have 1 election, we can use those extra funds to do maintenance, update equipment. Election equipment has to go through mandatory maintenance and so forth. That's not currently funded. Poll pads, the ballot, boxes have, I think, what is it, a 10-year?
Yeah.
A 10-year window, and they're coming up on their 10-year window where they have to be updated, so that's probably an FY '28 number, but if we carry 3 elections in FY '28, it'll just do that. But what it will really do is it'll stop this up and down every year that sort of makes it look like the budget's out of whack when it's really just these election factors. And you all have experienced and you've seen this before, so it's nothing new. So if we go down to administrative services wages, you can see it's going up 5.5%, but there's a huge increase in election workers. Everything else is within the classification schedule. Operations is only going up 1.6% because a long-term employee left, and it's just been it's not going up because the replacement, the employee that came in is at a lower salary. Expenses are down. The town clerk office has a cut there, but that's not related to elections. You can see elections are up 9%. Operations is up 9.8% because that's where the postage for elections is carried. Okay, so that is the high level look at operations. Human resources, the same thing within the classification schedule, and then training budget's been cut nominally. It looks like 11%, but it's $550. So let's see.
What are the 3 elections we're having this year?
It'll be the state primary, so it'll be a primary in September. There'll be the general election. It'll be the midterms elections in November, and then the town election in the spring.
So elections in April, September, and November this year.
Okay, I forgot about the state primary. I know there's always April and there's always something
in November.
Something in the fall.
It's the state primary. Yeah. Okay, so moving down. Well, so if you move down, you can see the operations division, and you can see that where that 1.6% increase comes from, and that's again within the classification schedule with a savings for attrition, and then the postage line is 20%. Almost 21%. And that's just election mailings with mail-in ballots and stuff like that. That's what drives that. So the town clerk's office has a cut for their professional technical services. And other than that, it's stable. Let's see. The town manager's office, moving down. The town manager's office only contains wages for the town manager position itself. This number, we explained this to the select board earlier in the year. It's just a placeholder number until that contract was determined. So they're going through some changes, which we know, so that I think they'll probably see a savings in this line, but we haven't touched it, and it'll be amended when that contract is complete.
Jane, just awkward asking this, but if they do like a search, right? Where would that come out of? Would that come out of?
When they hire a consultant for a search, you mean?
Yeah,
Because they've done that in the past.
Yeah, we
It sounds like
we have hired an executive search firm. It was $13,000 when they hired Fidel, and it was just under $11,000, just under 13, just under 11,000 when they hired Matt. And I think Sean's left the room. There you are. No, you're over there. You're hidden by Sharon.
Just need someone to put his laptop.
I can't remember if it's taken up your line.
My
It
line.
hits HR. There is, I think we determined yesterday, $13,000 left in the town manager reserve fund. That's
So we would
available
just-
to.
How convenient.
Okay, so yeah.
What's that?
Almost, as if you knew.
Marion said, how convenient. If the town manager reserve fund happens to have $13,000 in it.
Right, it just sort of works.
I think that Katie estimated it might be 15,000.
I think you're
At this
right.
point,
I mean,
because that
I
was
can't
several
imagine
years
why
ago.
that wouldn't have gotten more expensive since everything else did too.
Everything's gotten more expensive in the last few years. So yeah, that would probably be more expensive. There is $13,000 in that reserve fund, so
Yes, on the,
that's where it comes from.
Andrew, you had a question?
yes, quick question on the first line item, the insurance, on the budget summary, you have mentioned that you anticipate some savings in there, but I see that the line item is still maintained at $25,000, but not some alone.
It's a 2.5% increase that's maintained in here. That's sort of a general, like, level funded but increase. That being said, we've been negotiating with Maya to lower our property and casualty insurance. So they initially offered something like 2.5 to 4% as a reduction. We said we need more. They came back with an 8% reduction. And we had that meeting yesterday? It was yesterday. So we anticipate a savings of about $106,000 that we can reasonably get from that. And that includes us adopting some policies, some other risk management issues. So it's a savings that we see, but we haven't signed that renewal contract, so we are not putting it in the budget until we can realize that. So we think that we will come back in November to realize that for the FY27 budget.
And also they didn't break it out for us, so.
They didn't break it out.
So that they gave us the rate like with workers' comp and property and casualty, and then it wasn't broken out by fund, so I couldn't realize the savings in the right spot yet. So once we've settled the contract, we'll get numbers that I can put in the right spots.
That's right. So we can't split it out. Their timeline is different than our timeline budget-wise, and so it doesn't really align. But yeah, it looks like we should get some savings.
What is the finance committee budget item for?
Nothing was getting a raise.
What did you say?
$1,000 raise. No.
Hey, we're not getting paid.
It's for training.
No, the finance committee line is for audits.
Audits,
The auditor,
okay.
which falls under finance committee. Where are we?
The last line.
Looking at the wrong
That's
page.
77,000.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And
No,
we
that's for the
just signed a new contract with them, and they hadn't really increased our rates, and they gave us a little hit as well. So that I incorporated it into your budget.
Okay, so we did a reduction in the town council line and the labor council line.
Just because we're staring at it, it says town council line.
Council. Oh, there's a scrivener's error. I love saying scrivener, so thank you for giving me that opportunity. I love a scrivener's error. Actually, I don't, but so we will.
Missing an N.
What page is that?
That's on page
33.
33.
I love an edit.
I bet you Jackie's
How
already.
would the spell checker not get that? That's not even a word.
It's a 1,000-page document. I have no, and it's in a, it's a table, and it's, I think, it's actually a
Pasted
picture.
in, yeah, it's a picture.
Yeah.
MGR isn't the word either, right?
Turns out, no,
Don't want-
MGR is not a real word, no.
We do want a spell checker flagging those.
So that's property, that's administrative services in a nutshell. Questions?
Pretty good.
Looking around for any questions?
Like to see everything like that.
Yeah, but then, yes. All right, let's keep going,
All right, you wanna move to technology?
please.
All right, let's move into
We're
technology.
not trying to make this take more.
No, I think, well, the police department did us a great favor by going early and just with tremendous detail. I think we'll, our staff are
Not do
here
that.
all tonight. I think that we can go pretty quickly through the tables and they can answer
Yes,
questions.
I would.
Yeah, we
That
have the
worked.
police chief wear you out, so helps
Oh,
the
that's
rest
a
of us.
dare.
Thank you. Thank you.
Challenge.
I'm joined here tonight, thanks for having me here. I'm Kevin Furla, Chief Technology Officer for the town. Jennifer Ioshua, the Assistant Department Head, is here, Technology Manager. And, you know, the budget jump for technology is to do with that $80,000 increase for the computer-aided dispatch software subscription that hits us next year. Jennifer says that I like to point out the fictitious part of this presentation. We only went up 2.1% in expense or overall budget. If you take out that 80,000, that's not reality, but it's just to show we put some effort into chopping expenses down in a time where it's difficult to do that. So some accounts we gained efficiencies by changing the solutions, and in other ways we just, you know, we got a little bit more creative, and in some instances we lucked out by locking into 3-year contracts for the facilities work order system, for instance. We committed to them for 3 years and saved some money on that. And so, you know, we were proud of the work we did to get down to the 2.2-ish%, but the computer-aided dispatch does make our number 8 8.2, so.
No, you don't have to keep harping on it.
Yeah. Just to highlight a couple of things that might be a question to people, the decrease in landlines and wireless phones is because we're leveraging less expensive technology to get greater redundancy and a lower price. And it's taken a long time to get to the point where we're starting to see our numbers go down, but next year is the beginning of that. And I'd be hopeful that we even see it lower next year. Professional services, you'll see a decrease in what we have there and an increase in some seasonal employee time. We are basically leveraging our seasonal employees to get some of the tasks done that we were outsourcing in the past. So that's been a nice advantage for our department, because we have some sharp seasonal employees that are doing tasks at a lower rate that we had consultants doing for us. So that's a change from expenses to salaries. Some of the things I'm nervous.
I want to ask a question about that particular line, because it's there's a curious contrast between the actuals and the FY26 year to date is in line with past actuals, and the budget is way bigger than that for FY27, and for that matter, for FY26 and for that matter, FY27, like not the same number of digits. So
we're talking about the professional services?
Professional services line, exactly. The one that is gone down, but has not gone down. And is there a reason why that's,
I think some of the professional services that we anticipate come to us in the form of projects that are captured in other accounts. And so maybe a good way to illustrate what I mean is if we have security changes that are necessary, and we also have a firewall project that was approved last April, that need for that professional services time doesn't show up in our professional services line. It gets taken on in the project. And so you're talking about like trends from past years. The amount of money that we use for professional services is impacted from year to year based on what we need to do. Sometimes it comes out of the line that we have shared with DPW for our fiber optic network maintenance. And so it depends on the conditions that year. If we have an amount of money if we have tasks that can be accomplished through a different account, then the professional services account isn't hit as hard. I don't know if what I'm saying is coherent without giving like specific examples. But.
Possibly. Let me try saying it back to you, and that'll reveal how badly I misunderstood what you said. So it sounds like professional services covers a lot of things. It's sort of a backstop in a way, because there are things that might be covered in professional services but end up getting covered under other things in many years. But if there's something which is, like for example, there was a firewall project, so security stuff was there, but then if there wasn't that project this year, that could have been professional services kind of a thing. Is that?
Yeah, I think we anticipate spending a certain amount in professional services, and I'm a little hesitant to change that because the conditions change so much from year to year, especially after COVID. It seems like we're circling back and addressing things that had gone unaddressed because priorities shifted. But I see what you're saying, though. Yeah. You see $3,000 in a previous year and $40,000 budgeted. Where's the extra $37,000? Right. There's likely $37,000 worth of professional services time. It just might have come in the form of a capital project You know, I guess I could go into some examples of projects where it would be.
That's good. Thank you, though. I mean, it's obviously it looks, you know, I'd be much more concerned if the relationship were inverted and you were, you know, budgeting much less than the previous actuals, because then I'd be afraid we'd be in trouble in the future. Here, it's, you know.
Yeah, you know, I met with Sharon, or I had a back and forth conversation with Sharon. I think the timing was unfortunately in January about maybe changing
Categories.
some categories, some account descriptions, some things that are more in line with how I see them. But it was unfortunate timing because I'm asking her right in the middle of budget season, and you know we had already presented this to the select board, and it wouldn't have been great. Bad timing, but I'll probably have some changes to my categories for next budget.
Cool. Thank you.
And I mean, some of this stuff is laid out pretty clearly. Some of it I'm a little anxious about as we move forward. PC hardware is a good example. To see solid state or memory and solid state drives increase, that's not something you can anticipate. So the end result is less, we buy less than we were expecting. We have situations across the board, Microsoft licensing. We have an expectation that after our 3-year commitment, we're going to be hit with an increase. I had a call with Microsoft this morning, and I'm just begging them, like, can you give me an idea? And they can't. The reseller has to, and he can't give me, they can't give me an idea until it's close to expiration. So in a lot of ways, I have a lot of unknowns headed in my direction, but I think we've positioned ourselves in a way that is a little bit more tight to what reality is going to be for this FY27 budget. I'm worried about the unknowns, though. So I guess I could I don't know how much like specifics I should go into. Maybe I could take questions about, where the questions lie from my accounts and my budget.
Joe?
It's not a big item, but the document storage, is that like, I'm assuming like cloud, is that another one where more data is gonna be stored, or is it that?
No, that one actually is self-hosted.
Okay.
That's, we got $80,000 last fiscal year through a grant for an upgrade to our electronic document storage system that we self-host. With that upgrade comes a change in the version of the solution that we have, and so an increased subscription. So it goes from, I think it was 18.
Yeah, 17 to 24.
17, which has been, we did have a spike for some professional services, actually, related to the project. In 26, but the first year that our subscription increase hits is 27. And so that's the explanation for it.
And it was more cheap, and you felt better to do that on site than to just put it in the cloud, or?
Yeah, the cloud solutions are definitely more expensive, almost without exception. The world seems to be going to them. The computer-aided dispatch system that we're in the process of moving towards is cloud-based. With that comes additional costs. You're not paying me to take care of the servers. We're not paying for the server infrastructure, the storage, the network, all that stuff. Somebody's paying for it, and that's the cloud vendor. And so that's how they can justify charging you more. With that cloud solution, though, we get some advantages that I can't provide. The thing that the vendor or what the vendor would like to point to is down in Florida, when they had a lot of agencies that were wiped out from a storm, the agencies that were customers of theirs were up and running in hours versus weeks, because they didn't have a flooded data center that they were physically, replacing hardware and bringing systems back up. It was cloud-based, so their agencies just connected to it and And so you gain these indirect benefits through cloud, but it comes at a price.
But you're comfortable, you have the redundancies in place and the data center support and.
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting time though, because it's a time of transition between self-hosted and cloud-based. And each decision is unique. The document storage decision, there is a cloud solution. It was cost prohibitive. The grant was for a for our conditions. And it's less, some of the advantages of the cloud solution are less important for a document storage solution, as long as I have it protected, backed up. If there were an outage that we suffered because of a comparable storm, it's not a life safety thing. So
Yeah, got it.
it's not available. So
No, I trust your judgment.
yeah, but it's a case by case. So it's.
And just quickly on the hardware, the end of life, I'm assuming you have some policy to not constantly replace PCs and all that, or?
Well, we did, and COVID really created a splash that we're still recovering from. And so to describe what I mean by that is we had a lot of in-person work being done here in the town buildings, and that changed to a lot more mobile needs, a lot more laptops, a lot more remote work needs. And so now we're 5-ish years past that. So some of those things that we deployed then are aging out, and we've gone from a less expensive desktop solution to a more expensive mobile solution. We're getting more time out of some of the hardware that, you say we have a hardware replacement cycle, and let's say it's 5-ish years. We have machines that are 8 to 10 years old easily. And that's just because it's a little like spinning plates here. I have to address the things that are most important. If a machine is still capable of doing the job, we're leaving it in service much longer than what we expected when we bought it. So we do buy hardware that somewhat anticipates maybe that extra time that we're looking to get out of it. And so we're not in a bad spot. People seem to be, we're not losing man hours, like the employees aren't losing hours because of equipment reliability issues. In those instances, we pivot and replace that. So, but it's a weird question for me to answer, because I'd like to say, oh yeah, we're on the 6-year replacement cycle. Next question, we're just, it's odd. It's up in the air.
Thanks.
Okay.
Kim, do you anticipate any grants coming up in 2027? Because I know you got a few of them.
Yeah.
Maybe Compact is one of them. I don't know if we applied a couple of times there, but I think you can only apply 3 times there. But
I think it's every other year that.
Every other year?
And I think I have something here in my narrative about grants, but yeah, I love the thrill of applying for these grants and getting awarded them. And, the document storage system we'd have to be standing in front of you probably this year asking for money to upgrade our document storage system because it was on borrowed time. To have received that $80,000 to do it without an impact to the budget, I just love that. And so in a comparable way, I have $150,000 for a project that's going on right now to strengthen our fiber optic network in town. And so increased strand count, increased coverage area, and there's just a whole array of services that leverage our fiber network in both the town departments and the school departments. RCTV, I could talk at length about how the town's using that resource. We also got $70,000 between 3 different grants, and they're like security related, and we also apply for and have been fortunate to receive a cybersecurity awareness training grant every year. That I don't know the value of it, but that's one of the big vulnerabilities for an organization is not necessarily targeting the systems that have been sort of hardened, but rather the end users that, click on a link or interact with a threat actor, so.
With the new recalc center going in there, do you anticipate you're gonna need more people for that, or you can handle it on your own? Or?
Well, we
unknown for now.
I guess there's an unknown amount of technology. I know what was asked for. It's greater than what we support at the current Pleasant Street Center. It's further away, which my staff members are already thinking about, like the commute difference between walking to a building and getting in your car and driving. So
that's fine.
I don't know. It's one of these unknowns that I'd have a hard time putting in an extra full-time employee in anticipation of the unknown during this year. But if you want to suggest it, I'll be receptive.
It's one of those things that, it's gonna impact you in the future, but start thinking about it.
Yeah, I think it's very comparable to Joe in facilities. Like he's
so the IT, is it item or
intern?
Intern.
It's another Scribner's
Is it an intern or?
I guess I'd call that a seasonal employee. I don't think Sean would want it to say IT intern.
I think it's supposed to be IT clerk.
I think we changed
IT
it to
clerk,
IT
yeah.
clerk, so the
Okay,
change
okay.
hasn't been.
That's the job
And so
that's fine. I just wanted to ask like what it was for.
Yeah,
If it's a clerk that makes.
It's seasonal employees like you'd have
seasonal
down at the DPW.
Then the total share you probably.
Yeah, I
want to
just
say.
fixed that, I just noticed it, I was doing it.
So I have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't see any hands on Zoom. Oh, okay.
So,
Yes, Jeffrey.
So the public safety software, Sharon, you made this a community priority. Is that just for this year or is that going forward?
So we frequently use a community priority to just build it into the budget. So it
Okay.
ends up sitting in the accommodated cost area for just the 1 year,
Just
and
the
then
1
it
year,
comes
okay.
into the actual operating budget for the next year, because you've got a standing budget line item. It is in his budget, but we show it in the
But
accommodated
then in
cost
FY
section.
'28, we'll see that
Mhm.
no longer a community priority because
No, it won't be there anymore, no. The other thing I forgot to mention when I was doing the shared cost is the savings on debt, I didn't reallocate. I allocated it towards reducing free cash, and I brought our capital down to 4.48 instead of 4.75, choosing not to do more capital so that we could use less free cash. I was looking at something, I'm like, I don't think I told them that. So since that came up, I just figured I'd mention it.
Thanks.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so the next department is Public Services. So Public Services has an administration line. It has a Community Services Department, and it has Community Development. Community Services incorporates Elder and Human Services, Veteran Services, and Recreation Services. The growth of the whole department is 1.4%. That's mainly driven by a reduction in veterans services. So let's go through. I'm gonna just drive down here to community development first. Okay. So the wages here are expected to be, they're 5.8%, partially driven by inspections. We've increased inspections. We're gonna have 2 big buildings that are going to be inspected. And we run that division with all part-time inspectors. We have a building commissioner, we have a new building commissioner, but we run that all with part-time inspectors. They're all former building commissioners from before, when they were working before they retired. So these are highly capable individuals. Let's see. So anyway, you can see where the increase is here in the building inspectors line. Everything else is it's all according to the classification
Those are
chart.
part-time inspectors, sorry. Like,
They are.
They're not shared. We don't share them with another
No,
town.
no, they come in first thing in the morning, they're here for about an hour to answer questions, and they go out and do inspections.
Okay.
And they tend to work a few days a week versus like a partial day typically. And Andrew can answer any questions related to that right now. Moving on to, we've done a cut in our economic development line. We've done a small cut in conservation. We just last year added $2,500 we cut it $500 this year. So that was some of the conversation that came up previously, where the Conservation Commission would like to move some of that money that's currently allocated by the selectmen, by the select board, and that money is held in the operations budget that is allocated in the administrative services line. Their request is to move the Conservation Commission portion and the Trails Committee portion to this line in the future. So that's a conversation that is, because that's allocated by the select board, that the select board have to, we need to talk about that.
It'd be rude to take money out of their budget without asking them.
I think, yeah, so, but that's, it's certainly, it's an interesting conversation. That line item hasn't changed in years. It had, despite the upward inflationary pressure that we've seen, that line item that's in operations has not changed. So they're just trying to allocate those funds to different departments. And the reason that was done previously by, I believe it was Bob LeSure, was to, some of the committees weren't really using money in a year, but they were getting an allocation. Whereas another committee, like Conservation, could use that money. So it's sort of like if one committee doesn't need it, then it can be apportioned by the select board. And the select board makes that decision. Somewhat similar to what the chief said earlier, manager didn't want to, pick and choose. It was sort of what was the need at the time, and it was brought to the select board by each committee. So whether or not that model is a good model that we want to continue to pursue, we haven't addressed that for FY27, but it certainly sounds like it should be. What I will say, to the Conservation Commission's credit and to Chuck Tyrone and the Trails Commission, is they're sort of magical, where they take a very small amount of money they're allocated and they can do a lot with it. And that is really remarkable. Because of the volunteer service and the way that they work, there is something of a multiplier effect, but a very small investment on the part of the town.
It's more of a subject. It's more of a comment that with all the public comments that we had at the beginning of the meeting, and I've worked with Chuck, I know he's fantastic. But when we talk about stability, they need $20,000 that they're asking to put into the operating budget. And I was thinking, the new buildings that are going up, they all have solar panels, okay? And when we talk about conservation, solar panels, so there is a reduction in the energy of those buildings. So the idea, maybe it's a crazy idea, but we probably should look at what the savings from the solar panels that are going in there will be, and then fund the 20,000 gap that they're asking for. Just a pretty interesting idea of funding operating budget line items, and you're not dependent on the general fund. But there will be.
Assume there's a savings though, isn't there a big investment up front for the solar panels?
Yeah, but it's going there, it's already approved, they're gonna put the solar panels in anyway. It's part of the plan. So they're gonna put them there anyway, but there's a cost saving associated with the solar panels.
Hasn't that already been factored into the costs of running the building though too?
We don't know, I don't know, that's probably depends on how much energy they use. But it's a way of funding this $20,000 and getting it off the general fund.
Both of these buildings will consume a lot more energy than the buildings they're replacing.
Overall.
Because they're bigger.
They're bigger and they're all electric buildings.
So we won't have any of those things.
There's more technology.
So that's gonna eat up the savings.
We're gonna need to add money to the
Right,
budget.
yeah, it's I appreciate the creative thinking, but yeah, it is a if it's a savings relative to a hypothetical non-existent gas-powered version of ReCal,
right,
which doesn't exist and we're not currently paying for. So saving money relative to that unfortunately doesn't save money.
The solar panels will sort of be like a net metering, right? It'll just filter through and our electric bill will go down.
That line in accommodated costs won't go up as much.
Right.
Correct, but it's less money that the general fund has to pay, so that justifies the 20,000 that they're asking for.
It's a smaller increase than the general
I'm all for
fund.
funding that 20,000, by the way. Amazing things.
They do, and I am too. I think what their initial ask is to take the 6,500 and the 5,000, which is 11,500, and add it to the 2, so that's 13,500, and then over time
Build it up.
Would be the more the more sustainable way to get to that number.
Yeah.
And so that would be a 0% change. It would just be moving that money from one line to another. And so I will work with the select board to have that conversation.
Not that I'm advocating for CPA, but you're the CPA expert. Would CPA money be able to pay for some of this stuff that Chuck Tirone wants? Because it's conservation.
Quite possibly. There are
Okay.
many of these,
New
they're
trails.
like new trails or, you know, again,
It wouldn't-
improvements to open space.
It wouldn't pay for like replacing, the tree clearing and that kind of stuff?
I mean, that is the kind of, well, so the tree clearing stuff has been town forest rather than conservation, which is a
Okay,
whole
I'm
other
sorry,
thing, conversation that I assume that's also somewhere
They
in
were
the
speaking
box
to
that
a
we're
lot
opening
of
here.
stuff, but I'm just saying, what they spoke to, do you feel like CPA could, if it passed, could cover a lot of that?
Probably some of those things, yeah.
New
So,
trails and things like
no,
that.
this is one of those things that in the context of CPA arguments where people talk about, are we already spending money on things that are CPA eligible? Yes, when we spend money on conservation and trails, we are often spending money on things that are CPA eligible.
And the CPA, Joe, has is it 10% every year has to go towards, isn't there like a?
Yes, of the money
Like a
versus
fixed
CPA,
allocation?
it's 10% has to go to each of, though the dimensions are open space, affordable housing, and historic preservation. Recreation and conservation are in the same bucket. So, and given the amount of money that Reading spends on our much appreciated and much participated in recreational programs, I expect that's going to be, the words 80-10-10 have been said, where open space is probably going to be the 80 a lot of the time, given that's how we've spent that money in the past.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, and then we took a small cut in economic development, so just moving down.
Jane, can I ask a question on the veterans services?
We haven't gotten there yet, but yeah, we haven't gotten to veterans.
Don't worry,
We're still in community development. And so I'm just moving down, we're headed there. There's a lot of information about the departments, the divisions that gives you more information. So moving to community services. Community services is seeing a smaller, if you look at, so you got the administrative side, the director, you got Elder and Human Services wages are going down 1.4%.
We are now on
page
page
is that?
44.
I went way down, 44,
Okay,
or 49 in the packet.
all right. I was looking
Okay.
for that.
51
So-
on the PDF.
Elder and Human Services wages are going down. Everything else is related to the classification plan. The reason that the wages are going down in Elder and Human Services is because the grant is going up. We have held the positions in that department right now. We haven't funded, we are down one staff member in that department. We have an interim director. The former caseworker is serving as the interim director. She's doing a fabulous job. So we are funding it at FY27 level funded.
Can I ask, because I was looking up something earlier, the grant, when you're saying going up, is that what's called the state formula grant, where
That's
we
right.
get $15 per senior citizen? So we're spending that all on salary, not on programs?
That's correct. The way that it's always been done and has been structured for a long time has to put the grant here. Now,
I mean, given
new
what
to
I was
this role
hearing,
here.
could the grant money go towards the programs that everyone's are saying, oh, we're losing our programs, ARPA's gone?
So as we're doing the FY27 budget, we've also been looking ahead to FY28 and when recal opens, and also talking about what's an override budget going to look like?
Yeah.
And how do we want to structure these things? What is it going to look like when we talk to the community? So my philosophy is that you have one-time funds go to one-time costs, and you have recurring funds go to recurring costs. So I think the general fund should be supporting the staffing in Elder and Human Services, and the state grant should be funding the expenses line. So, you know what I mean?
So
I
the
think
programs, like, because we get like
programs,
100K roughly.
yeah,
The
116,000.
thing I saw said we had 69 people who are considered seniors in FY25 for a
It's
grant.
easier said than done until you do an override, because you've got to find
Correct.
116,000.
Right, that's.
We have to-
Yes,
Yeah.
Correct.
the thing about money is that it's the most fungible of things, and
Right.
if you take it away from,
One place.
if you're not funding salaries with it, you're funding salaries some other way, or rather, you're not funding salaries some other way.
Well, and what happened, right? So a lot of ARPA funds like, I think $800,000 worth of ARPA funds were put to Elder and Human Services.
Which you can't, that's not sustainable.
It's terrible.
It's like you
cliff
can't
funding.
have that expectation that we can keep spending that.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
We were worried about that on ARPA. Like,
Yeah, I agree with
we're
that.
creating it's great, but we can't keep it up.
And you're absolutely right when you talk about the expectation, because the reality is that we've been funding programming for free at the Pleasant Street Center with all this ARPA money, and all that ARPA money had to be encumbered by December 2024,
Right.
and then paid out. And so it's almost all paid out. I think the only thing we have left is in meals contracts that we solidified. So the staff have been working very hard to find other ways to, reduce costs, and they're returning to a paid for programming model. And so that paid for programming model is what's going to cover their programming. And we used to have a paid for programming model.
And that was something also, I looked up also while they were speaking, and like Stoneham, Andover, Winchester, Tewksbury, Wilmington, Chelmsford, Linfield, all charge $3 to $5 per program. Like if Google Gemini is to be believed, and I went to their site. It is what it is, and that's what we used to charge.
Yeah, and it's true. And the participants in the Council on Aging are not arguing that we have to go back to a paid for program model. They understand that. But it's still a huge cost, right? Because the Elder and Human Services expense line, if you want to go down to the next table, is $51,000. It's $51,700. That's all the expenses to run that, including the programming. And that is an increase over pre-COVID numbers. But it's still with higher inflationary pressures and more people utilizing the programs, it's a challenge. So when people say that this is underfunded, yeah, it probably is. But with the guidance that we have and the financial picture that we're in, we're not in a position to increase that line. You've heard tonight, other departments, so this is where we are.
And FinCom members got an email, just for disclosure to the public, we got a few emails advocating for increases
more
in
money,
this
yeah.
money.
We would love to put more money into the programming. We would love to put more money into a lot of other ideas, areas in the budget, as you're hearing tonight.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah. So we do have sorry, I don't want to.
So I don't want to get, but that, just to take you, those are the expenses.
Do you have a hand up? Is that what
We
you
do
said?
have a hand up on Zoom.
Yeah,
We just
I
see-
noticed that pop up,
Yeah.
so I said, yeah.
Karen Herrick on Zoom, please.
Okay, thank you. Could we go back one slide? I'm just trying to have a question about, I'm looking at wages and positions. Why? Want to make sure we're on parity with recreation and elder services. And one thing that was confusing as I was trying to do that, why does it say under elder human services wages, why does it say recreation administrator and coordinator? Is that a typo?
No, the bold Elder and Human Services wages is the bottom of the Elder and
the
Human
total,
Services.
yeah.
Recreation Administrator is held in the recreation wages, which is below that.
Okay, so, all right, so then I'm just looking at the individual salary levels, and I heard a comment a couple months ago that the posting for the senior center coordinator was probably not posted high enough to get like the level of expertise we're gonna need for somebody who's opening a new building and growing a population, because you build it and they will come, they've already come, once we had a great programming director. So I'm just wondering about those. Why are all the recreation positions higher than senior elder services? So what I remember seeing is that we tried to hire our first director of equity and social justice at a certain level. We ended up getting no applicants, so we had to go through the whole process again at a more competitive wage, and we were successful. And then the other feedback I'll just share with the finance committee, because I've been spending a lot of time at the senior center, is that I am definitely not hearing that the seniors are the 60+ community that I hear from and in this meetings are very sensitive to budgets and sensitive to an override and hoping for the smallest or no override. But one thing that's coming up, it's interesting, is that they are very much interested in a membership model of paying, and also unlike kind of the recreation clients, if you will, or participants, they do like to pay those. Marianne mentioned $3 to $5. They like to pay it in cash. So, you know, there's some other things about, you know, the technology we're going to use to support them. Like if we're using a recreation system to support the seniors, is that really going to work? But you know, I think they understand that things shouldn't be free or can't be free, and they are super sensitive to our override discussions. But we just want to make sure that I don't know how to solve the problem of this programming funding gap for the rest of the year, for the one thing. And I know I don't know what the email said, but they're looking, you know, closely just to make sure that you know, these budgets also reflect inflationary pressures, because I think there's recognition among the 60+ population that, yep, we get it. Everybody's suffering it. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I think she's right on with everything she said. Thank you, Ms. Herrick. So a couple of things. There are some differences between where the positions lie on the classification chart, and that's something that I'm going to look to remedy in the spring so that there's parity between the lines. But the numbers that are reflected here are based on the individuals. The classification for the recreation administrator is actually lower than the classification for the elder and human services administrator. But that individual has a lot more experience, and that's why the salary is higher. Okay. There are other, the senior center coordinator is the person who manages the programming, and that position is classified lower than the recreation coordinator. So that's, you know, a lot of detail, but those are things that we'll look to remedy on the classification chart with the select board.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, so there's detail there. Other things, what did I want to say? You mentioned a membership model. So the membership model we looked at, and in order to fund the programming that we want to, we have to sell 240 memberships. And I can't remember the value. Jenna is not here. She knows it on the top of her head, but that's a lot of memberships that have to sell in order for the financial model to work. And we're not convinced right now that that will work. The cash model, we don't want to be accepting cash anymore. The model wasn't that the town took the cash. The model was the participant paid the cash directly to the vendor, which is a no-no. We don't do that anymore because those vendors weren't. It was a cash only business. See how that works?
Say no more.
What are all the other towns doing that are running it this way? The only one that looked different was Andover wanted, like, say, pay $40 up front for a series of 8 classes instead of, oh, let me show up at $5 a class. Because then you don't know, a snowy day, no one shows up, the instructor still has to get paid or something like that. Like, what are other communities doing? Can we learn from our peers?
Absolutely, absolutely. And our staff is working with other towns and has done that work to
Like
talk
maybe
about
they
what
can
other
have
communities do.
a debit card that they can swipe to, I don't know, you know, some kind of like
class. I mean, I think
something.
One of the models that we'd like to be able to do is sort of a class pass, right? So you buy 10 $5 classes.
That's what I'm thinking, like with punch holes or something.
Like a punch card, right. So in order to make that work, you have to have more staffing at the desk or a piece of technology like a kiosk with a key tag where you can check in.
A barcode, yeah.
Yeah, and because we have one person who sits at the desk who manages to check in and check out, there's not enough hands to manage that and check people in efficiently and make sure that people are being charged. So if we have wait lists with the way that this works, then you know refunds are fine because people will be on the wait list and replace the person that's leaving. And so we will get to that class pass eventually, probably next year, maybe later in FY27. The software that we're using for both recreation and senior services, we're instituting it now because we have to charge for elder and human services programming, but it will be the same stuff that we use at Recal. We don't want to have one program now and then a different program later. When people move over to the Recal building, they will know how to use the technology. It will be second nature. So it's a big new building, everything's different, but the systems will be the same. And people, the learning curve won't be there for that. So, you know, that's part of it. We're working to get to where we want to be. We want to work with our council on aging and with all of our elders to be able to take the classes they want to, but there are some growing pains involved with making this move. And we recognize that.
Do we have some classes that are free at least right now?
We have lots of programs that are free. But there are some programs, particularly fitness programs, that the instructors cost a lot of money. And some instructors cost more than others. So, you know, there are favorites, they cost more money, and that drives up the price.
Karen, I see your hands back up.
Sorry, one more follow-up. Thank you. I'm just going to share with the Finance Committee. So some of the discussions we've had are, or that rather the 60-plus community and the feedback they've given is that, so they want to make sure that the people that like to do fitness aren't penalized financially. Because some people might just go to the new center and play billiards, and that's going to be free. Or I don't know what else they might do, but you know, that's an interesting way of looking at it. And that was one of the reasons that they thought a membership was so popular, or they thought a membership was like a fair way of doing it. Because, you know, everybody, all the services have to be paid for in one way or another. And they just felt that, you know, there's nothing wrong with like being healthy, and these are all good, but the people that are big fans, one woman is estimated she's paying like $1,000 a year for like all of the classes, and she's just passionate about fitness. So it's just interesting hearing. And then the other thing I've learned recently is that not all communities have elder services reporting into recreation or kind of lumped together because they're very different populations, and some communities have them reporting directly to the town manager. So I guess, and these could be growing pains, and just that's why it's so important to have somebody a strong advocate who understands the 60-plus population and the elder population.
All great points. The point I wanted to make a minute ago is that the software for this program is paid for through the Recreation Revolving Fund. So it doesn't go on Kevin's budget. So
finally,
we did that for you.
Go on Kevin's budget.
We did that for you. But so Recreation Revolving Fund is carrying that.
So Elder Services is benefiting from Recreation's investment in the software.
Correct. Yep. So, you know, there are benefits to having Recreation and Elder and Human Services together. You're going to see it in the Recal building. We may be able to change the model so that all of the fitness classes are actually technically offered through Recreation, and the revolving fund would subsidize those costs. So instead of $5, it could be $4 or $3, which makes it a little bit more palatable.
Do we have a breakdown of what percentage of the seniors who use the center want the fitness classes versus just want the more mellow, free stuff, the luncheon sessions? Is it?
I can probably get that for you.
I mean, is it
don't
like 50%? Is it 20%? Because I guess the other thing is why should seniors who just want to come for little things have to pay a membership fee if they're not physically capable of the classes, right? Because there's 60 seniors in their 60s and seniors in their 80s, right, have different needs.
100%. Well, and also we all pay taxes, and we pay a fair amount of taxes and renting, and you want to make sure that you're getting value for service, and everybody feels that. So as many things as we can make for free as possible through, you know, Elder and Human Services, we want to be able to do. But that means that certain things have to cost money, and it's that utilization. But the fitness classes that we offer here are going to be more tailored to the people who take those classes versus going to a gym or taking a group exercise class, you know, in a fitness model with, you know, all adult age people, if you understand my meaning.
Yeah.
So it'd be safer for older folks to participate with our programs, is our belief. So, and we look to do that. We do require vendors to carry insurance. The town taxpayers should not be accepting liability of somebody who is an unsafe, you know, provider. We don't cover them for insurance. Okay. So that can I just take questions? I know you may have questions about the cuts in veterans expenses, because that is a fairly large item, and that's the only cut you're seeing in community services. And that cut is, we hold a fair amount of money aside because our veteran services officer doesn't know who's coming forward to ask for services. And these are services that are typically reimbursed by the state at about 75% on an approved item. So these are, you can see the utilization in previous years, 69,000, 61,000. We feel that this is an acceptable cut that will not affect individuals in the community. Okay.
We have a hand up on Zoom. Karen Janowski?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Karen Janowski, Azalea Circle. I am the chair of the COA. Unfortunately, I came to this discussion late, so I don't know what has already been said. But I do want to just point out, and I don't know if it has already been brought up, that the COA does have some trust fund money. Was that mentioned at all?
It's not. I was going to get there, Karen, but thank you for that.
Yeah, we do have some trust fund money that that is possible to help cover any gaps that happen now as a result of the fact that ARPA funding has run out for the programs and for the fitness program specifically. So if there is a gap, I do hope that, that is something that the COA will consider helping to cover the gap. And I do understand that we do all understand that this is a time of transition from 3 years of ARPA funding, providing free programming across the board, free lunches, free fitness programs, and really some excellent programs that has really benefited the 60+ community. But this is a time of transition now, and people do understand that we do have to go to a paid system, and I'm hoping that we can work out something that will work out in the best interests of the 60+ community. I do think that there is some room for flexibility and collaboration in developing an appropriate program for that. Thank you.
Henry.
On the veterans expense line, has that line item ever been above 100K?
It's been steadily declining for years, and it's been well below 100 for the last several years. Actuals, I mean, what actually gets expended.
So the cut, the 20,000 cut, is it based on like the average cut over the years, or is it just like
It's the fact that utilization is extremely low and declining every year.
The question probably isn't why is the cut that big? The question is why is that cut that small?
That's what I'm asking.
And I guess,
Well, I feel like, like you said, you don't know what might
Is
be
the
coming.
population decreasing, basically?
Yeah, I mean, we've been noticing that, look over the years, that it's been declining. So I don't know if he's not identifying, or veterans don't know these services are available to those who need them. But it's been declining for years. So it's either that people are moving out of our area or dying, or I'm not sure if we've identified all of the veterans that could benefit from the programming.
And you also have a new generation of veterans that will be coming up.
True.
At aging, they'll be aging, sort of the Gulf War.
Yeah, I mean, I could have taken more, but I would rather take it down gradually in case we're wrong and it starts to go up.
I didn't even ask because this is how Sharon handles every line where we have a surplus at a previous year, which is to not go all the way to wherever it was.
No, I get that.
Served us well,
But
so thank you.
Because of that 20K, because I have in my mind that 20K that conservation is asking.
Okay. I see where you're going with that.
This is 20,000.
He's trying to find another 20.
This is 20,000 just to get us where we are. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
A question. Yes, please come to the podium if you have a question. This is a public hearing, so we take questions and comments at any time. So, but please go ahead.
I have a question about the trust funds, because I wish, unfortunately, the people from the COA who were here before didn't stay. But I was told that the trust funds, the purpose of them is not necessarily this, so there's a possibility that money might not go to this. Do you know about that?
Yes, well, there is restrictions on what you can use those funds for. It's been about I used to serve on the trust fund commissioners, and I kind of used to know all of them, but I don't recall right now what the restrictions, but there's definitely restrictions in them. And Shannon has most of them.
I have them right here.
You have them, I think it does for programming,
So it's
isn't it?
probably wise to look at the restrictions and see if we can
Yeah,
cover it.
so I can tell you that the balance, so they do have restrictions, and the ethic with most of them is to expend just the interest income that has happened, right? But like the Burbank Fund, the Dorothy Burbank Fund has $388,000 in it. $388,722 to be exact. That's the balance of November 30th.
Right.
And that is all expendable. That is not restricted to just interest. But the practice has been to just use the interest that we garnered in the previous year, which would be, according to the treasurer, it was investment income of $5,600 with a fair market value increase of $17,000. So it's not a realized savings because it's an investment.
But what was brought to my attention was not the amount, but more the use of it.
I think
like
it's
what it
Burbank
can
is
be.
for programming.
Yeah, these are
Okay.
allowed to be used for programming, but the ethic that's been adopted by the Council on Aging is typically for trying out new programming, trying out, giving them money to experiment with something new. And what we're asking them to fund right now, staff has made the ask to Council on Aging, is to fund existing ongoing programming.
Okay.
And so that's some of, the
Which some
issue.
people might see should come out of a budget rather than this if it's not, so, yeah.
And we get that, we understand that, but my response to that is, it's raining. And these are rainy day funds. And it's a substantial rainy day fund. And so to get us to that point, to buffer, to soften the curve, going back to paid programming. Do you see what I mean? So that's the philosophy there. And I hope that answers questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
It seems like it's for services, programs, and outreach projects. That's what I have.
Which one?
Under one of the Burbank Legacy. It says services, programs, outreach projects. And it's under the discretion of the council.
You can kind of use it for this.
I beg your pardon?
You can use it for this.
But my thought is that it could be used as the seed money to build this this membership that they're talking about. It could be that money that is used to make sure that everybody can get paid, while you're building up the revenues of that program.
It can be, yeah, I mean, that's one option.
Can I ask a question that that woman raised in public comments that I don't think it's fixable, but she said 80K of the elder ARPA went towards pickleball, take it back.
That's Rosemary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can
I
answer
can't
that.
do that because I've
Isn't it already
reported
been
it to
expended?
ARPA. It's already been expended, but it's also been reported, and I can't change the
can't
funding at
change
this
what
point. It
ARPA
had to be
is.
encumbered by December 31st,
Plus, there's
2025.
probably use
2024.
agreement of what you
That was
can use that
2024.
money for.
Either way, but
She'll
still,
then
it's
report it.
past that time.
Right,
That
I think I just
80,000
wanted to clear that up because the person raised it.
No, that's I'm glad you brought that up because it should be addressed. That $80,000 was originally put by ARPA funds to have the Elder and Human Services programming to rent out other space, because at the time it was, we're outgrowing the Pleasant Street Center.
Yeah.
We need to rent other space to do big programs, right? And what ended up happening is money went to fund a feasibility study, and now we have recall. And so that $80,000 to rent larger space was never spent. And so we were running out the clock with December 2024. So we used that money to fund the pickleball design, which we brought back in the spring of last year. That's where it went. So it's been
I
expended.
almost didn't recall it. That's why I had to ask you.
I know where it
Remember
is.
that.
I got this.
But at the same time, I've already reported the expenditure to the federal government as used
Right,
for
I mean, I knew the
pickleball
time
design.
ran out, but
can't
I didn't
change it.
know whether they were asking for now that pickleball got a donation, take some of your donation and give it back to elders. I don't know what her intent was.
And we can't reallocate anyway, because now
Yeah.
I should have had
It's closed,
everything
yeah.
encumbered where it needs to be already, and so I can't change it now, so.
Right, and that's not gonna save
I wish I could.
the long-term
Yeah.
issues with funding
No,
those
because
programs either.
pickleball's a one-time project, and that generous donation from RPPA is reducing the cost of the town borrowing.
Which is fabulous.
We have Karen Janowski on Zoom.
Thank you, Karen Janowski, Azalea Circle. I just wanted to remind people too, with the 80,000, another consideration at the time was that a significant proportion of Reading residents who participate in pickleball are members of the 60-plus community. So it was another type of fitness activity. So it does kind of, it is something to remember and consider.
Thank you, Karen. Yep, great point.
Okay, all right, cool. Any other, so yeah, I guess any other questions? I guess we were on the public or this.
I think we went through veterans, right? I went through, yeah,
I
I
think
explained the
you're done.
veterans, so I think I'm done.
Okay.
I think it's the
I
finance.
think you're done too, and we can keep
You
moving.
guys done with questions for her?
Yes.
Okay. We have finance up on the screen or no? That's page in the book, is it?
That's page 50 in the book.
50.
Just going off of that.
Okay, so for finance, overall, the budget's up 2.7. It's broken down by division here. 3.2 for accounting, 2.5 for assessing, and finance at 2.4. All of our staff are non-union staff, so they're getting a step and a 1.25% COLA. So if we scroll down and look at wages, wages are up 3.3%. Based on those steps and COLAs. And then the finance expenses, we did everything we could to cut down as much as we could. So in the accounting area, I took down like $1,200 of per 0.9 for assessing. Not a whole lot going on there, but we did try to do our part, even though there's not a lot of expense money to be worked with there. Any questions?
I see Karen Herrick on Zoom.
Thank you. So I just wanted to ask, so I love this model, we're sharing the assessor and hopefully we're not overworking him and it's a win-win. But so the municipal empowerment bill, which I do not have a date of when they might get that over the goal line, sort of was going to enable and encourage regionalized assessing activities. And I'm wondering, is that going to be something that's going to, how would that affect Reading? Would that be an opportunity for savings, or are we already just doing the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of doing it. Right now, our assessor is shared with Wakefield and Linfield and us. And so we pay a third of his overall compensation. So that would include his salary and all of his benefits. And so we get a cut of that. And so instead of paying for a full-time person, we're paying a third of kind of what we would be paying, which I think is helpful and has worked out well for us because our assessor is very experienced and can manage this work fairly easily. He's been doing it for years. And so we really benefit from it. And I think that model is probably spreading because people are trying to find in other municipalities areas where they can do regionalization that might actually help reduce their, budgets a bit.
We're doing animal control also too.
Yeah. Well, we were doing it.
No, that's true. Sorry.
So recently, the animal control officer agreement we had with Wakefield was terminated, and so we have to figure out what we're doing there. But generally, most of our regionalization efforts have been very, very productive and very successful. So it just turns out that Wakefield was not happy with the animal control arrangement or the vendor and wanted to end it. And so we have to kind of figure out what we're doing now. I do think I have on the agenda for town meeting to move money from the expense line, because we've been paying it as an expense, to possibly a seasonal employee. That's what we're leaning towards right now, to cover our animal control, because we've had it be a wage and then it's an expense. I mean, we've been all over the place with this animal control, but that's where we're at right now. I'm not entirely sure if that's exactly where we're going, but you'll see that I'll be moving money from the health department, because it's now in the health department, it used to be in the police department. I'm moving money from the expense line up to the wages so that we could start paying a temporary seasonal employee to be the animal control. So, but in most cases, our regional efforts have been very successful. Does that answer your question, Karen?
Yeah, I didn't know that we'd see any additional savings. I just wanted your take on it. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other questions. So let's see. Does that take us all the way through finance? Does anybody have any questions on, I guess we can zoom in on each of these if you want.
If you'd like to, yes. Not a whole lot
On the
going
other
on.
hand, it's also at 9:40 PM. I imagine people might be, you might pick up the pace a little bit.
Well, if we skip, is it that next going to public safety, like with fire and stuff?
It would be fire.
It'd be fire, 'cause we've
Those
done-
individuals.
You can skip me tonight if you want.
It would be health and fire, whichever one comes up
Or
first.
health is first in the document.
Yeah, so it would be health first. That would be a day.
Yeah, I see them all here, so.
Yes, no, I want to get, these folks have been sitting here for going on 3 hours, so hopefully give them a chance to do their thing.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ade Solari, the Public Health Director for the town of Reading. Our mission at the Health Department is to protect and promote the health and well-being of our residents and visitors. As a result, our key responsibilities include, but are not limited to, tracking and responding to public health complaints, leading public health activities related to disease outbreaks and surveillance, administering vaccinations, managing establishment permitting and inspections, collaborating with federal, state, and local agencies to coordinate public health responses. Our department, in conjunction with other town departments, fire, police, and community partners, provide a variety of public health programs to our residents year-round. Some of the programs include bringing Dana-Farber's mammography van and the Vision Eye Care van to our community. We provide multiple hearing screenings and vaccine clinics to our residents. We collect unexpired diabetic supplies and medical supplies for donation year-round. We host multiple blood pressure screenings, and we collect used shops year-round. Our department has 4 full-time employees: the health director, the public health nurse, the health inspector, and the administrative assistant. We also employ the expertise of independent contractors, such as the weights and measures inspector, tobacco compliance inspector, animal control officer, and pest control contractors. In terms of the FY27 budget, we are looking at a total budget increase of 1.4% in the amount of $7,553. Now, how did we get to this number? We proposed a $13,800 increase in our salaries budget, consistent with scheduled step increases and cost of living adjustments. And we also made cuts to our expenses budget in the amount of $6,247. Any questions?
Quick one. That rodent mitigation 50,000 is. I see that was firstly entered in FY26. How are the expenses trending for that? Is that a company or what is that?
We used to fund it through ARPA, so that we started it through ARPA, and then this fiscal 26 is the first year we built it into our budget, but we had to add it, like additional funds to ARPA to make that first year work. So you would have seen a subsequent town meeting ask for the difference. This is the first time fiscal 26 that we have it built into the base.
The actuals are the actual trending close to that 50K or?
I haven't looked at it recently, so I don't know that for sure. Do you know a day?
It's around that.
Around that.
It's around that. Okay.
A little bit over, but.
If it's over, you should probably ask for more than. Just kidding.
I mean,
Not
we can
this year.
reduce.
It's
Not this year.
for that line item, rodent mitigation, I would not save money there.
We
but
can
just-
reduce, the number of boxes, take it down.
All right. I don't see any questions on Zoom. Does anyone have a question here? That was very easy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I believe fire's up next. Chief Nelson.
The advice of the police chief, we're told to only ask if there's questions and not speak on anything else.
It's gonna be worth for me.
You're learning from his example.
Yeah, so he's supposed, if you want to stop top page 68, that little chart right there. You guys know what we do, big red trucks, we put out fires, we do emergency management, we run our advanced ALS, ambulance service here in town. You've probably been hearing this for a long time, so I'll spare you the details, but ask questions as you see fit. But just wanted to call a couple things out. So on the permits issued here, you can see in 2025, we had a little bit less permits, 676 versus 698. But you'll notice the fees received actually is higher. If you remember, we made some changes in September to our fee structure. So we are seeing an increase in revenue as far as our fee structure. I think likely we're going to end up more on, when we have a full year, it's going to be more like $30,000. We should pretty much double roughly what we were collecting. And then as far as the ambulance fees received, there's a lot of things that affect that. It's, you know, how many people we transport, how sick are they, and what type of insurance they have. That kind of affects all that stuff. That was changed in September also. If you I don't know if you remember back to the meeting, we changed that to a different system. So I've been following it. It's really hard though because collections can lag for months as far as getting it in there. So the data is really kind of ugly to use. So I didn't bother bringing in that data, but I will say it's trending upwards. So we are seeing an increase in revenue. And then so if we go down to just go to the bottom, page 68 real quick, just in the summary before I get even deeper into it, I just wanted to call that last paragraph. You'll see in the expense line item, expenses look like they're going down. We had that one-time $50,000 transfer for the radio system at the high school, if you remember, we came and spoke about. So that gets taken out of the expense budget in FY27. So just the reality is the request is at 8.3%. And I'll talk about what those two things are just to kind of remind you on those. Top of the next page real quick, top paragraph, just as a reminder, because a big chunk of this has to do with us collecting the fees for our ambulance billing provider. So just a quick reminder, what happens is we pay a 4% fee on all the revenue we collect. So with the changes in how we're collecting revenue and the revenue increasing, we're going to be paying more fees to cover that, okay? Okay, so if we could go down to the top of the next page, the charts, please. So as far as the salary line items, that is either contractual or the changes for non-union personnel. The one change in there is I did request for some additional overtime. Our overtime, we've exceeded it 7 out of the last 10 years. In the last 5 years, there's only been a 5% increase in the overtime line item with over a greater than 17% increase in salaries, straight time. So the numbers don't trend. So I asked for a little bit of an increase so that we get a little bit closer to the real number. Now, of course, what drives overtime changes every year, staffing, number of incidents, things like that. But we're looking at a little bit of increase there. So overall, the wages is at 3.5%. Now, as far as next chart down, as far as expenses, so you'll see the equipment maintenance line, the $50,000 coming out. That's that radio system at the high school for the radio. So that's both police and fire. And then the two items that we're looking to increase. One is ambulance services. The ambulance services $2,000 increase. That's what funds our licensing. We pay our medical director and all the other items that go around running the ambulance service as far as licensing. We're seeing increases in coming out from the states and some increase in requirements. And in the actuals, you can see that we've exceeded it the last couple of years. So I was looking to bring that up to be closer to what the actuals are. And then the big one is the billing services. So looking at the number of calls we did and then comparing the type of calls they were and then projecting out onto this new thing, we could get, I'm gonna say we're gonna get anywhere between $120,000 to $400,000 worth more of collections. This number is reflecting the top end of it, so we can cover that in case we do get those higher collections. So that $17,000 is to cover just those billing services. So the good news is massive of 17, but we're definitely going to be bringing in way more than that due to that because of the way everything's changing. And I will stop there in respect for time and answer any questions you have.
Joe. You mentioned the overtime, and it's been concurrent, like whatever, $500,000 for 10 years, right? Have you looked? I think this came up before too, like just adding like a couple of FTEs and fully loaded, what that would look like.
Yeah, so
Without like the trade-off there versus paying the time and a half or whatever,
yeah, so that's a tough one. I know that we, years ago, I don't know, probably 10 years or 15 years ago, we had added one person on top. So instead of having 11-person groups across the board, we went to one 12-person group. It was like a floater position for long-term injuries and things like that. And there was some benefit there. To be honest, I haven't run those numbers right now. I'm still trying to get up-staffed just to get back to full right now. And I'm optimistic that we should get there hopefully by the summertime. Everybody, please cross your fingers. I'm knocking a little bit. But the select board did bring that up, and that was one of the things that I was going to look at potentially for the next fiscal budget to see if there was enough of a benefit there to justify it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Jeffrey.
You mentioned the number of permits dropping. Also, the number of fire inspections dropped. It seems like as we get more and more buildings in town, I would expect more fire inspections. So
yeah, so those numbers are a little deceiving because we had some changes in permitting software, we had some changes in personnel and how permits are being recorded. We found that we were not recording some inspections when we should have been and recording them in other places. So that number's a little deceiving. There's definitely a lot of inspections going on, and we're working to get a single way to do everything so we have, it's standardized and those numbers become more reliable.
Very good. The other question that I see come up every now and then, and I know I've talked, maybe not, I think just Chief Burns, the question about, all of some of the responses where you send a big giant fire truck out there, but it's only, somebody slipped in the kitchen or something. And so you need the EMTs from the ambulance, but you don't really need the fire truck. But I think as Chief Burns explained, one, the fire truck might get there before the ambulance and they can certainly help, but also in terms of staffing, like you don't want the fire truck there without enough. It was something about how the staffing worked. In terms of you don't want to have a partial crew, arrive with a fire truck somewhere, but not have enough crew to actually put out the fire. But I think it kind of, where I want to go with this is, if we go back to the fire trucks and how expensive the fire trucks are getting, and the wear and tear we're putting on the fire trucks, never mind the amount of diesel that it takes to drive them somewhere, at what point do we find that adding a few more people saves us the wear and tear on the fire truck? Because these fire trucks, we see that, the expense we just had, and we had to add to the budget because the vendor said, we can't sell it to you for the price we signed for it. You have to give us more money, right? That was last year. So I wonder, are there models where you can send fewer people in more efficient vehicles to go take care of the particular things that aren't this big, structure fire or something, but a medical response that really only needs one or two EMTs to take care of.
All right, that was a lot. Let me see if I can get it. Let me see if I can get it here. Okay, so first of all, why? You got to understand the why we do that. So we have 2 firefighter paramedics on our ambulance, okay? And let's say you're really sick. One of those paramedics is doing blood pressures, another one's starting in line, the other one's doing the EKG monitor, the other one's doing, maybe pushing some medications on you. So they're committed to you. Well, we have to still move you. So we're run out of hands now, so we need more bodies. So that's why the fire truck goes, because while those 2 paramedics are treating you, right, giving you the dedicated care, the other people are moving couches, opening doors, shoveling, carrying the stretcher, carrying the stair chair, doing all these different things, right? Going to get additional equipment, because maybe you walk in and not what you thought it was, and you need to run out and grab something else. But that way we're not abandoning you at the bedside to go get another piece of equipment, So that's the why. That's why we need more bodies. And imagine we have
I guess my question then is, can you get those more bodies there without the fire truck?
I'm going there.
Okay.
I'm going there. So now, if we're going to put more bodies there, we have to drive them there. So more efficient. Let's speculate we put a pickup truck together, right? So we're going to drive a pickup truck instead of the big red truck. All right. I put 2 people in the pickup truck. Where are they coming from? Am I taking them off the fire truck? I only have 2 people in the ladder truck most of the time.
Yeah.
So if I take them off, now the ladder truck is unavailable to respond. The ladder truck is not only a big ladder to fight fires in tall buildings. The ladder truck has all of our specialty tools, so car actions, hazmats, it has all those specialty tools, and that's now sitting in the bay, and they have to go from where they are, go back and get that. Same thing from the engine. I only get a couple engines. My downtown engine most of the time is staffed with 2 people. So if I put those 2 people off of that, now I've taken an engine out of service. In the average building fire, the first engine pulls up, they stretch a hose line, they start putting water in the fire using the 750 gallons they have in the truck that lasts about 4.5 minutes. The next one is the one that's bringing the big yellow line from the hydrant down so that we have a reliable water supply for the fire. Well, if I took in 2 people off the engine, now I don't have an engine. So to do that model, I really would have to upstaff to have 2 dedicated people. So that's 8 additional people across the board.
Okay.
So there'd be as you
So
can
the fire
imagine.
trucks are expensive, but they're not that expensive.
They're not that expensive, exactly,
Yeah.
so. Yeah. So, did I get everything?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Every truck is an ambulance.
Yes, and yeah. Every truck's class 5 ambulance, thank you.
Looking around for any other questions. I am not seeing any. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, if I keep scrolling, go past police and coalition. Did we talk about dispatch? I guess we did under.
I think we're
Where's
Public
facilities?
Works.
That gets us to
I think facilities must be after
Chris.
Public Works, which is weird.
DPW.
I think you're Public Works.
DP Dubs.
Page 65.
Yeah.
Well, good evening, and thank you for having me speak to you tonight. I'm Chris Cole, the DPW Director here in Reading. Everyone, you all know what DPW does. Basically, we have 8 different divisions. It's a department full of 60 very talented individuals, comprised of administration, engineering, highway and equipment maintenance, stormwater, parks, forestry, cemetery, water, and sewer. So now just to get into the budget here, to go into page 67, Jackie. So basically, on wages, overall department wages are down 1.2%, but there's one driving factor in why that is. So when the stormwater fund was originally created, it was partially funded under general fund and the enterprise fund. Well, in order to save as much expense coming out of the general fund as possible right now, Sharon had the idea of moving all of the general fund expenses and wages to the enterprise fund. So that amounts to $175,200 in wages and $3,000 in expenses. So as I said, that put the department wages at negative 1.2%. And then on expenses, the operations expenses were at 3.1%. But overall, the department expenses ended up being at 23% due to the trash recycling contract that increased that line item by 39%. Most of the increases in expenses were due in part to equipment parts and maintenance, fuel, pothole money, sidewalk repairs, street signs, and police details. That's pretty much it for general fund. Did you have any questions? I can go through individual line items if you want, or.
I'm looking around for any hands. I'm not seeing hands. I mean,
I did
okay.
have one on the rubbish carts. So my recollection was early on, there were some issues where the carts were falling apart like the wheels were coming off, and it was a question of, had they been snapped on well enough, or is the collector actually not being as nice to those?
Yeah, that
things?
turned out to be a manufacturing error, and so the company actually came out for 1 week and followed the trash truck around and ended up replacing most of the wheels on the ones that they went around and checked them all, and any ones that needed to be replaced, they replaced them.
Okay, good. Glad to hear that. And then we expect to see the automated collection truck starting this summer?
Yes.
Okay. And then I think that might need some education from people to how far to.
Yes, and we plan to put that out.
All right. To make sure that thing can grab it. I saw one come over, I think one Saturday that they had one come in and it.
Yeah, they've been mixing them in there periodically when another regular truck breaks down, they need an extra truck or something.
Fascinating to see it grab it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just can't help, snow and ice, I'm assuming that's up again now.
Yeah. I would say so.
It was good while it lasted.
Yeah, so I mean, we still level funded at 675,000, but because that's the only account that we can run into a deficit. So we're gonna keep it at 675, and hopefully next year we can hold it at that.
And where were you now? Like, do we any idea after yesterday?
We're over $1 million. We're probably, I would say, after the blizzard, close to 1.2, 1.3 million, maybe total.
I'm projecting $800,000 ask for April town meeting, so not a small.
That's going to Kevin's budget.
Thanks.
Sorry, I thought we needed a laugh.
No, appreciate it.
After you hear the snow and ice deficit, you sure do.
Yep.
It's more a question for Shan. The move for the FTEs from the general fund to stormwater, does it impact the rate at all, or we had a buffer in there?
So if you look at the stormwater narrative, I put enough free cash in there, or the stormwater free cash to cover it. But if they wanted to cover that and not use free cash, they could just increase it's like currently at $60 a year for most residential households. It would just go up $20 a year, so it would go to $80. But that's a select board decision about rates, and so it'll be a discussion later on. To make sure it's covered, I put in certified free cash, or the certified surplus, as they call it, for the enterprise funds. So.
All right, cool.
Don't see anyone else. So, all right. Thank you very much.
Do you want to go to enterprise fund now, or?
Okay. Yeah, we can go ahead and.
If you want to, yeah.
I mean, just while you're up there, exactly. No, I understand. It just requires me scrolling for 5 minutes. 1 second.
I think it's page 136 on that's what it says on the bottom of the page.
Yeah. It's yeah, which is.
Right.
Because you got to get through the whole school committee budget before you, the school department budget before you get to it.
Yeah.
There we are.
It's at the back, yeah.
143 in my PDF, which is the newer PDF. If you have the older PDF that doesn't have the extra memo in it, it'd probably be 141.
Okay, so we'll start with the water enterprise first. So wages in water were increased by 4.6%. Operating expenses increased by 3.7% and were mostly driven by increases in copper pipe, brass fittings, and valves. Sewer enterprise increased, the wages increased by 4%. Operating expenses increased by 3.4%, and those driving forces were mostly due to an increase in the inflow and infiltration prevention, which is maintenance of the sewer pipes to make sure there's no stormwater getting into the sewer mains, either through tree roots or bad joints, or so they basically go through and they seal up the around all the joints to make the pipe solid again, so there can be nothing coming through. and let's see, an increase in sewer station supplies, different chemicals that are, the price is going up on those, safety equipment, and then a little bit of an increase in the sewer distribution maintenance materials, so such as like sewer pipe and anything needed for the sewer main repairs, if anything's needed on that, et cetera. Now, we can lastly move to stormwater enterprise.
Which, this is where those wages went.
Yes. Page 148.
148 in the page numbers and 155 in my PDF.
So in stormwater enterprise, due to the shift in all of the wages and expenses from general fund to the enterprise, the wages in stormwater enterprise are increasing by 143%. The operating expenses are increasing by 2.7%, and that included the $3,000 shift in supplies and equipment that was in general fund over to the enterprise. Yeah, and that's pretty much all I have.
Jackie, can you back up to that? Yeah, this one, the line that says use of financial reserves, it says FY26 pending select board vote. Should that be?
It needs to be changed.
You got it on the first one, but not the second two. I think the water's okay, but the sewer and stormwater, let's say 26.
My proofers. I always need somebody else to look at it so they see.
Absolutely.
And what I noticed, you mentioned wages operational, but the overhead expenses here, particularly in stormwater, is up 32%. What's in that?
Sharon, can you answer that?
Which one are we looking at?
Overhead expenses, it's up 32%.
In stormwater?
Here in stormwater.
Stormwater up, overhead expenses.
I can look at it.
If you scroll down to page 149, bottom half of the page, it's our old friend health insurance.
Oh. All right, thank you.
Say like that ends the conversation as soon as you say health
Part
insurance.
of, yeah, if you scroll down, you see the detail.
Yep.
I just even called out the
It's not pretty.
overhead expenses.
Also ouch, but yeah. All right. Questions about any of the enterprise funds? We went through all three of them, which I think is fine. I don't see anything. All right, thank you very much. All right, now we're all disoriented because we scrolled way down in the document. I have to go find out where we were.
I think we're on the library, right?
If I recall from previous years, library comes next. Yes, right, this is, the later we stay, the longer I want to get through everybody so that no one stayed the whole time for nothing.
So you have the document, do you have any questions?
The library's great, next, okay.
Do we need to mix it up so that like the library gets more questions than the police next year or something, right? Like we really dug into the police.
I mean, I feel like Chief Clerk kind of signed up for that with the nature of his presentation. He didn't seem to mind at the time, but.
He's a dynamic presenter.
That's accurate. All right, Amy, please go.
Yep. So this is the budget. We're going up 2.3%. The majority of that is salaries, and we were able to bring our expenses down to 1.5. So just to report what everybody else has done, we're taking hits in some of our expenses that we think we could manage for a year. And all the salary increases have to do with the schedule, the step increases and cost of living. It's a net zero on, we have no new employees, FTEs are basically the same. And that's about it. Yes.
Marianne.
It's not really in the budget. I understand that there's, another group is doing the library landscaping project. Once that's in place, do you anticipate you will have to have any, is it just gonna be more facility for you to run programs? You won't need to add any staff or
No, it's just
supplies or
outside,
anything
it's an
to service
outside,
that? It's
yeah.
just an
It's an
extra-
outside amphitheater style seating.
Okay.
So you could.
So it would maybe just be added utilities to light it or something?
No, we did no lighting, we didn't have to, we did no lighting.
They
we
just
did no-
terraced a hill.
We just terraced a hill and put
Okay.
in a patio.
I could see it from my front porch,
Yeah,
so I
no,
can tell you all
hadn't
about it.
followed all of the details. I know early on they had a lot of proposals about things, so I wondered about the
Yeah.
lighting and things and stuff.
Well, we don't anticipate it being used after library hours, so the existing lighting is fine, so.
If it's dark and the library is open, it's also too cold to go outside.
3 o'clock in the afternoon, yeah.
Joe?
And Amy, just quickly, like on grants, whatever, you don't see any big deltas or changes there, do you? Based
I'm sorry, on what?
On like any grants that you get or?
No, I mean, we generally apply for them right now. The LSTA grants that we get through this state and the federal government seem to be being funded. So we are hopeful that those will remain in place. They're, they range anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000 depending on the project that you're doing. So, but they're the most reliable source of grants for libraries.
Good, great, thanks.
Going once, going twice.
Nope, I think you're good. Thank you very much. All right, sorry. I believe it's facilities. No, Joe's next.
All right, go Joe, you got it, Joe, bring it home, buddy. You're the
That's
real
right,
kiddo.
that's right. So I am now seriously thinking about Jeffrey's suggestion that we do this like backwards next year or something. Just not that I'm not gonna be the chair, so don't.
Thank you, everybody. So, yeah, thank you, Jack. Let's see. So we really took a hard run at the budget this year to try to, sort of get in line with what the demands were. The facilities department is made up of two separate budgets. M91, which is core facilities, which is the maintenance and upkeep of all the town and school buildings. And then we have M92, which is just the town buildings. And the town buildings is more or less just made up of custodial staff and the cleaning associated with cleaning the town buildings and outsourced cleaning. So if you want to go to the, I'm reading off a little bit different version of this, but that's okay. So our energy budget basically makes up half of the overall facilities budget, and that's like a big driver in our budget. What we did there was we talked with Sharon, and we reduced that 4%. And in some of the buildings, we generate usually savings in our budget due to all the energy work we've done over the last 15 years. So we did look at some areas where we could reduce the numbers a little bit to gain savings. And so that is down, the energy is down 4%. Our core maintenance and repairs in the facilities budget is up. We're seeing, like everybody else is talking tonight, you're seeing increases in materials, electrical equipment, things like that, copper piping and things of that nature. So we are asking for more money in that line right there. As you go down further, plumbing expenses, like I just mentioned, we're asking for a 4% increase there. And then elevator and fire equipment are also, we're asking for some small increases, and that's driven by outside contracts. We outsource a lot of outside services, elevator, fire alarm, things of that nature. And a lot of it's driven by the cost of the materials, but also by prevailing wage and increases in rates. So basically the core facilities expenses are down negative 2%. Okay. Town buildings. Town buildings basic, go ahead.
I just don't understand why, town costs are going down and school costs are going up for these categories. I mean, is there a reason why there's such big differences?
In which line? Which?
Well, like natural gas, right? You figure whatever it is, we have do we have the same supplier for the town and schools?
Yes,
Like,
we do.
So why is the schools a 5.1% increase and towns 7.4% decrease?
A lot of it is on use, and a lot of the buildings on the school side are rented out, number one. It can be driven by, the seasonal temperatures and things like that, that can drive the increase or the decrease in the budget.
Okay, I guess I just was assuming it reflected rate, and I didn't know why, it would be comparable to both.
Well, we did what was our increase in the natural gas last year? 30? Was it this new?
Not last year, but the year before was 30%.
30% increase.
Yeah, and it went from 600 to 675. And so then,
And also to the town buildings, I know that, do we have as much going on at night? Like, I think the heat shuts off at a certain hour.
Yeah, the schools are, most of the schools are rented like every day after school. We have rentals going on till 10 o'clock at night.
Okay,
So yeah.
but I mean, this is nothing new, this is just consistent, so I guess I just didn't understand the big changes with the natural gas and water and sewer.
Yep.
Why isn't it just consistent with what we had before?
Yep.
We don't have contracts. I thought we had contracts on the gas side.
We do. We just signed a 3-year agreement.
So it is.
It's coming up
So,
next
okay.
year.
It's in 28. It comes back out again.
When that contract got signed, it went up 30%, and that was just a couple of years ago, so.
And that is a big increase, but other towns, I think we're paying like, I want to say around $9 per decatherm. I think that's right. Some municipalities are paying upwards of $12 to $13 a decatherm. So we locked in, even though it's a big increase, we did get a good deal on it. So. Any other questions on that? Town facilities is more or less level funded. The expense side is level funded, and then what you're looking at for wages is driven by collective bargaining. And I think that's.
Makes sense, yep, that's it.
And again, we maintain all the tools, everybody, I say this every year to remind people, but we have the town facilities, core facilities, and then the school department's portion that I manage also, but that falls under the school department. And that's all the custodians and the cleaning contracts and everything, so.
I'm looking around for questions. I am not seeing any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Did
very
you
much.
make up decatherm or is it a real word?
What was that?
Did you make up decatherm? Did you make it up tonight?
Alright, by my count, there are a couple of odds and ends enterprise funds. I don't know if we want to talk about them. They are in the budget at the end.
The what?
The PEG and landfill.
Yeah, those are in the back of the budget, as well as, I think, for whatever reason, when Dell reorganized it, capital and debt is in the back as well, but we did see capital and debt in the shared
Yes.
cost area, but there's a page that gives you like kind of a breakdown of exactly what we plan to do for fiscal 26, so that's another thing. So yeah, there we are. You can see that we went with 2,961,500 for capital for fiscal 27. Could you scroll down a little bit more? And we break it out by the different categories. So 589 of that is for core facilities, and we say 50,000 for the permanent building committee, 300,000 for an elevator for the Main Street Fire Station. We've got a pickup truck in there, an arc flash study, and then 40,000 for doors and windows for the schools. So that's breaking down that number. Then we have 260,000, 10,000 for the telephone system for the school, and 250,000 for technology, large-scale technology projects. And then 205 for technology in the town side, 125 for their large-scale projects, and then 80,000 specifically for servers for the town and school building security system. And then under the next category, we have 510,000, that is public safety. So you see 50,000 for AEDs for police and fire, because we buy them at the same time. I think initiates those purchases for both police and fire. And then 60,000 for a rescue tool for fire, 30,000 for breathing bottles for fire, 20,000 for multi-gas meters, and 350 for turnout gear for fire. And then under Public Works is the typical stuff that we do. We have the 100,000 for a tractor, but we've got like the normal, paving and curb work that we do. But we're doing a tractor at 100,000, a mower at 30, 697.5, and that's kind of just plugging. It was a plug to get us to the number I was trying to get to. And then 100,000 for skim coating, 120 for curb and sidewalks, and 50,000 for parking improvements, 50,000 for fence improvements, 100,000 for rock walls. These are ones that we have every year. 100,000 for field or court improvements, and then 50,000 for design for Forest Street crosswalk improvements. So that's kind of all that we're going to do with capital. And then our debt budget here, we're talking about how it's up 250.8%. Well, that's because we've got this large add of 5,195,837 as our first excluded debt payment for Killam and Recal. We'll pick that up. That's the first tranche of debt. And that's what's driving that. We did issue our debt at the 3.317. So we issued 50 million for Killam and 20 million for Recal, but we got large premiums. So you'll see the amounts that we actually borrowed are actually a little bit different. They pay you premiums up front, and we use those premiums towards the actual construction costs instead of borrowing. And so that's how we end up getting to the same place, but our effective interest rate is 3.317. Anything else worth mentioning? Oh, and I did bring, as I mentioned to you, and we had talked about 4.75 at the financial forum. We always do 5% debt and capital. I brought it down to 4.75 with the changes in debt, that the savings I had there, instead of doing any changes to capital, I brought it down to 4.5 for the 1 year to try and make things a little easier and bring that free cash number down. Other than that, scrolling down.
Sharon, as I recall, we did 5.5% some number of years since the last override. How many years did we do 5.5%?
I think we did 3 years because I feel like costs were up significantly and we were trying to keep things moving.
Like we were going to do it for 2 years and then what?
We ended up adding it for a third year. It was like $700,000 more on top, and it was about 5.5%. So yeah, and then in this case, we're going the other way with it, unfortunately, but we're still doing.
I mean, I think that it's sort of,
Yeah, I don't feel bad about that.
Right? It's like we knew in the beginning that we'd have a little bit extra money because we just did the override and the salaries were going to increase because of cost of living and contracts and whatever. Yeah. And so doing a little extra capital at the beginning so we have a little more room at the end.
And I will say too is that in these tight budget times when municipalities are trying to like stretch their budgets, they end up doing less capital. The format that we have for our budget is very disciplined. That 5%, we might bring it down a little bit, but we're still spending almost $3 million on capital and at a time when we're really struggling to make the budgets work. So I think a lot of communities use their free cash that they regenerate each year to fund their capital for the next year. Well, if they're not regenerating, they're not doing as much. We seem to have a very disciplined approach to what we're putting towards our debt and capital, and it's worked well for us. But you don't see that in all the communities. They sometimes look, because people will say you shouldn't use free cash for your operating budget, but I'm like, we built into our budget capital that a lot of people consider that one-time use that you use free cap. So you could kind of look at it that way. At the same time, I still don't feel comfortable with the numbers that we're using, but we have maintained a good level of discipline despite what we're going through.
Sharon, quickly, the $50K for the design work on Forest Street.
Yes.
What is that again?
It's for crosswalk work.
Is that the actual work though, or is the design
It's a
work?
design, the work that's to be done.
Just some pedestrian safety improvements that were requested out there. We're gonna just do a design on it for the road.
Like
Is it a
near
problem
Birch
area?
Meadow?
Yes.
Or- Okay.
Near Appleby Woods, right?
That's actually, it's a tight sight line, because you're coming up over hill, gassing over hill, and you suddenly come down, and it's a bit of a curve.
Yeah.
It is actually, it's a tight sight line.
And there's a lot of cars parked
Yeah.
there during school hours and, got it, okay.
Any other questions on debt and capital?
Looking around and I don't see any. So it looks like we just went through the budget.
Well, we've got Peg and landfill, so.
I'm about to say, those were before capital, and we can talk about them there. They
Did I
didn't change.
actually go past them? Oh.
I think they were.
Yeah, she can show us quickly. They're the same every year.
Right.
So the PEG is kind of we've always done it as a kind of pass through to RCTV. but it's a declining revenue source, and so you can see that, you know, we're kind of basing it on what we are seeing happening. And so we do a 5 and a 10-year average to determine what we potentially will get for the next year. And we are projecting 507 for fiscal '27, which, you know, it's a decrease of $13,000. So we're steadily declining if you look at the actuals that are there on that chart. Because I guess a lot of people don't think cable is necessary. They do a lot of streaming and all of that. We kind of know that this is a declining source, so I wouldn't be surprised at some point that there has to be some other funding source that we bring into this, because this source it's not a growing funding source, it's a declining funding source. I don't know that we have any requirement to add to it or supplement it, but it wouldn't surprise me if it would be asked of us.
So wouldn't that have been clarified during when the new contract was signed with RCTV, right? If RCTV says, hey, you're asking us to do, I mean, I think there were a couple of at least the select board was asking for a few more things.
Yep.
Right, and so, you know, that's then up to RCTV to say, hey, your revenue is decreasing, the select board wants you to do more things, right? So I would expect the contract would say, yes, we need 507, or we need more because you've asked us to do more things.
The contract, if memory serves, has fundraising targets in it, not numbers, but that they're taking actions and so forth.
But they didn't ask us for it to supplement it with a general fund.
No,
Subsidy.
there's no general fund subsidy in this.
Okay, that's what I wondered, if we would ever be on the hook, because it is declining, so it wouldn't surprise me if they would say, well, we're getting less and less money, and, you know.
I mean, they're cutting their garment in the shape of their cloth, right? They've gone to a less expensive,
They
space.
relocated their space.
I remember them
Big
relooking, but I
savings.
remember one of the select board members saying, hey, he wanted to see that studio space back because he thought people should use it, so. And it was just, you know, like, if you want it back, then we gotta pay for it somehow, right?
So they've made budget changes and so forth, and they are, I believe, in the process of the search for a new executive director in that facility. But they've achieved some cost savings because they've had some attrition, and they're running with far fewer people staff. So we're coming up with
I
a
would have
new.
expected.
We're coming up with a new contract. I was just looking that up because I think we're up again with Verizon. We have to start the new.
But sometimes we're able to negotiate some capital adds to
We
their
always
budget.
negotiate
Yeah.
capital, and
So that might
usually
help.
it's for the first 3 years of the contract, we get capital infusions that we also get straight with our stuff.
Yeah, and this is just kind of a DLS request that this, even though we used to treat it as a pass-through, that we need you to appropriate it. So that's why you see this now in the warrant book, so that we appropriate it at town meeting, because they look at it as our funds and we're paying another vendor.
Chris has a hand up on Zoom.
Thanks, Joe. It's 10:30 at night, which is fantastic. I guess Jane or Sharon, has RCTV inquired recently about using Pleasant Street Center potentially as space if somebody else only needs half the building or only one floor, that kind of thing? I know a survey is out, but like, have they?
It's out right now. We had a conversation with them a long time ago about that, and it was very de minimis. It was just
They didn't seem that
hey, it might
interested.
be available. Would you be interested in something like that? And I don't think they had really considered it at the time. So we can go back and ask them. I know that there seems to be a good appetite for multi-use on PSC for the future of that building. I know that there was some interest expressed on our, I shouldn't be speaking for RCTV, and I'm not speaking for RCTV, that they would like to be in a town building so that they wouldn't have to pay rent, or they could pay a lower rent. So that would reduce their costs, and they do a good job serving the town with their work. So, but to answer your question, Chris, I haven't had that conversation lately, and I think that would probably be a decision for the next executive director.
Okay.
And board.
If you could just keep it on their radar, only because, if we're in that position where something is available, you know what I mean, then Once again, I'm not speaking for them either, but it's RCTV Studios. You kind of need to have the studio. So that's my take.
Any more questions regarding PEG? And then we have the landfill, I think, after that. Same sort of thing. It's almost like a performance deposit. We get money in January, 37,000 comes to us. They have requirements to do monitoring. They send us their, proof that they've paid for monitoring, and then we reimburse them from the $37,000 deposit that they gave us. So essentially, we have to it's a formality, have to appropriate that at town meeting because we're paying out of it. But it's the same exact article every year.
Now, we've gone through the whole budget.
We have.
All right. So in that
Close the public hearing.
Second. Thank you, Mary. Okay, well, we'll let people run, and then thank you all so much for coming.
Yeah, the station called, they need all of us.
Do they need
Thank you very
me?
much.
Seriously, thank you all.
Yeah, we need you.
You don't have to come back next week unless you have a warrant article, in which case, sorry.
Yeah.
But,
Guys, I'll see you in the morning, bright and early,
My building.
in your building.
Yeah. All right, thank you, everybody.
And I hate to think of it, we always have FinCom and then have a department head meeting bright and early.
oh gosh, all right, well, let's,
There's breakfast at the department head meeting, so
That's something.
all right. So we've had a motion to close the hearing. We don't have anyone on Zoom anymore from the,
Yeah, I guess, was there
oh, no, I'm
any
sorry,
last public
Ed-
comment,
Ed-
I suppose, right?
Ed has disconnected. I mean, it is
He's in
now.
London?
He's in
Yeah,
England.
He's in London,
3 in the
so
morning
yeah, no,
there?
it's 3:30 in the morning. You think we're up late?
Yeah.
That's discipline to be
It
on.
is- I remember- Yeah, no, he dropped an hour ago or something.
He's committed.
Yeah, no, hats off. But anyway, for the rest of us who are all here in person, so we no longer need to, so we have so we can do a show of hands on that motion to close the hearing. So, great, 5-0. Thank you.
I didn't see minutes for.
The select, I'm about to say.
You had to have on conservation.
Oh, okay, so we're all talking at once here, sorry. So there was, there's a question, select board, you guys want to take this opportunity to adjourn? I don't imagine you're gonna have any comment on our future agendas or our meeting.
There's only 2 people on, so.
No, Karen Rose Gillis is here too.
Oh, good, okay. Oh, there she is.
So did you want to make the motion, Karen?
Motion to adjourn the select board.
Second.
Seconded by Karen Rose Gillis. Roll call vote. Karen Herrick,
Yes.
Karen Rose Gillis,
Yes.
and Chris Haley, yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Night.
All right, then, for for us, so we had, so we have future agendas and we have, do we have any minutes in the packet? I should know, but there was a big budget in the way, I didn't get that far. I'm scrolling to the bottom, there's not minutes in the packet,
It says approved prior meeting minutes,
but we don't have any to approve, so if they were, which is fine, it's only
Do it
been,
next week then.
exactly, it's been a week. Yes, I'm gonna, all right, so then in that case, future agendas, so obviously next week is the warrant for town meeting. I wrote an email about this and I'm trying to find it, I need to find it myself in a hurry because we discussed agendas for this meeting, next meeting, and last meeting all in one email thread. I know we have a new agenda item that was suggested for next week that came out of, we received a couple of emails from residents on Elder and Human Services staffing, which didn't get to the committee as in the way that maybe everyone would have wanted because they go to the finance at ca.reading.ma.us address, which currently goes to, I think, Sharon, Jane, I'm assuming you get it now, and it goes to me. And then it goes to our spam folders because there's an awful lot of spam. Neither Ron Powell nor Kate Harrington are spammers. They're in fact residents with legitimate feedback for their, appointed officials. And we'd like to make sure they get it. So I was going to suggest an item next week about how we want to do email communications and should we want to consider like some way that people can reach us directly or anything like that. Let's see, I'm looking for any other, do other folks here have thoughts on agenda for next week besides, of course, the warrant and then communication as well?
I'm not thinking.
Warrant's gonna take enough time. We're dependent on the select board getting the warrant done the night before.
Right, but
too.
they're as I understand it, the 10th is the last day they can close the warrant, so they have to close it.
I know there's gonna be discussion on
And
certain.
we did put on the
amendments.
Terra Cabin warrant article, so, which was floated last week, so it's the same as your.
I think it's the unit. I don't wanna, there's a question on sports and Burbank money and everything that's coming, and I feel like I wanna ask a question, but I don't wanna create a violation. There was an assertion made, I think at our last meeting, that Burbank hasn't paid rent in the past 2 years. Is that accurate?
They didn't pay this last year, but the year before, I do think they paid us something. Yeah.
The assertion was with respect to last year.
This is one of the
and
bigger
this year.
Are they usually a year, how far behind are they? Cause I went and found their
Yeah.
no, I mean, when does their fiscal year close? I looked up their tax returns online on nonprofit, and the most recent one was 2024, and 2024 listed something like 117 as a delta in 2024, and then a loss in 2023. So I assume when they have, like, it was like a 32K or something loss, that they would not pay us in a year when they experienced a loss.
Exactly. So they have a calculation that they have to adhere to figure out how much they pay us.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're spending a lot of money on capital, they have to kind of establish a capital fund for themselves. So sometimes they'll go a couple of years and we won't get any money because they've done capital and they need to rebuild their reserves for capital. And
They
then
did their roof.
Yeah, and so it's not uncommon for us to have years where we get nothing, because if they've got a lot of capital work, they're going to,
But
number
you're
one, the year that they do the capital work, and it might be a couple of years after that, that they build up to the level of reserve they have to keep on hand.
So it's also building the reserve. So you're always aware. It's not like, oh, geez, this is on our balance sheets. They haven't paid us for a few years.
We haven't relied on the money, like obviously for years, because as soon as they started to have capital needs, they'd let us know, don't expect to have anything. We used to include it as revenue coming into our general fund. And then we stopped doing that because we just didn't know, when they would be able to start paying again, because they had some large capital needs. They said, don't expect anything for a few years. So here and there, we collect money. I think the one thing that, it's not unusual, I guess, for them to not pay anything because they're doing capital. They're maintaining the property. They're doing improvements to the property.
Oh, no, and their tax returns show their expenses. So I just was trying to establish when an assertion is made, oh, they're behind on their rent.
It's not that they're behind on their rent, it's just that we don't always get anything.
There's a lot of formula.
So if they owed us it, we've received it.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is we're doing the thing where we're discussing something on a future agenda when we're discussing future agendas, which isn't quite how it's supposed to work. This is absolutely because there
was a public comment on this last week though, so I'm following up on that.
and people can
It's not
public
an
comment
agenda
to us
item.
all day long about things that are not on our agenda. They could public
Okay.
comment to us about the, whatever off-season.
I'll bring it up again next week. with the
Yes,
article.
because next week, when we are discussing the warrant, and there's a warrant article that involves
We can talk about that.
Hamburg funding, that will be absolutely on topic to
Okay.
ask all about the past, present, and future of our financial.
But I guess I was just understanding how that reporting works, just like I asked about the special fund that goes to COA too, that I didn't really even know about, that goes towards the salaries.
Well, that was definitely on topic.
That's a
state
grant.
formula
Trying to figure
grant.
out- We
The
were
formula
discussing
grant,
the FY 27 budget, which has got some holes in it. So, yeah, totally fair question to see if that could plug a hole. But yeah, no, we'll definitely talk about that next week. Yeah, I did find my email, which just says, so obviously we will vote on the budget, which technically is one of the articles for town meeting, but we'll do our usual dance.
And hope we have nobody online.
About to say, I'm
I know
not
it's so
above.
much harder when you.
I'm not above doing what we did last year, which is if we can take the budget out of order at the end, so that if anyone wants to vote on warrant articles from Zoom, they can do so, and then they can sort of trip and fall over their internet connection and disconnect, and then the rest of us can vote on the 37 budget line items or whatever the hell it is by a show of hands. That's what we did last year. I think it worked well. Mark Zero was able to remotely vote on pickleball that he was, had wanted to vote on, and then we got to vote smoothly on the budget. So whatever happens next week, we can do the similar thing. So, there's all right, are there anything else for future agendas? All right, we don't have any minutes, so I believe it's time for a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Henry. Show of hands. All right. Thank you all. We got through it.